Oh, enough of that. Hey, everybody. How you doing? Josh Turner here. Happy belated Halloween. Sorry about last night, folks. I got in a little bit late. Halloween was supposed to be the day after Halloween for us, which would have been All Saints Day, but instead, here we are. Had some stuff come up with work. Work has become cumbersome, to say the least. I need my glasses. So I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. It's just work. It's just work is what it is, and it's stressing me out to the point where I feel like it's going to kill me. And I'm not even joking. I'm not exaggerating. I'm just being honest. So if I could do this for a living, I would. But I'm not at a point where I can with this yet. So donations are not expected, but they are appreciated. Or you can join the Patreon at patreon.com, PRT podcast. And what else do I need to talk about? So I got a sponsor that wants to send me some stuff, and they want me to eat it on live on the show. So I guess they saw Tony doing the one chip challenge, and they asked me, is he that stupid that he'll eat whatever? And I said, not really, but maybe. So yeah, probably. And then they said, okay. And then I said, great. Bring on the whatever crap it is, and he'll eat it. I mean, we're hoping, right? We're hoping. I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm just saying, like maybe he's, But, so anyways, we do have a show for you tonight. I don't know how it's going to work because of the equipment's malfunctioning, like always. We did just order a very expensive amount of equipment, which is another problem. So that's why I got to work more. But we are hoping that we can get it fixed so we can do what we plan to do tonight. But unless that happens, so we'll see what happens. And 3 of the people that were going to be a part of it, two of them are dropping out because I guess last night was their shot to do it, and now they can't do it. Why is there fuzz on this thing? What the heck is that? That's messed up. But anyways, so I'm just going to do the show like I normally do. I'm not going to worry about all this other crap that doesn't work. We're just going to do the show like how we normally do it, because all this other expensive crap is just expensive crap that obviously is useless. So we're just going to do what we normally do here. But let me get started here. First thing I want to do is I want to wish everybody a happy Halloween, even though it's late. I understand that it's late. And also bear with me, folks. I'm being highly distracted right now by all kinds of people around me that you can't see them, but they're buzzing around, annoying the crap out of me. So, anyways. Reading some of the comments here. Thank you for everybody who responded with prayers. I woke up feeling a lot better. Blood pressure was part of the problem, but it's really it boils down to stress. Being completely stressed out, and I definitely am overworked. And so I was at a crossroads again last night, and I prayed, and I thought about it, and I was like, do I need to stop with the show, or I have to stop with my job? And I keep having to come up to this, because you can't, it's very hard to do both. And the job has to come first because it is my form of income. I cannot survive by doing the show. We put very limited commercials on here. We put very limited, we don't get a lot of money for the show. And talking to a few people that are involved in this field, they said that that's a big mistake because then this isn't this becomes just like, it becomes a money pit. And hopefully that's not what's happening here. I'm hoping that I can recover from all the money that I've had to put into this thing, but it has become like the show, in other words, is not paying for itself right now. Let's put it that way. But one of the things I'm going to try and do is add to the Patreon, like I said before. So hopefully by next week I'll have that figured out, and we will start to do Patreon, a lot of work on Patreon that can help us. So I'm sorry if, we were going to do 2 shows on YouTube a week, but that's not paying the bills. So we're going to have to do one on Patreon that's just for Patreon members, and the other one is going to be on YouTube because free only gets you so far, and it's been 3 years, and I'm having a hard time keeping this going. So for my health, for my stress, for all the money that I have to put into this thing, and me and my constituents here are having to do a lot of work to make this show work. So it's becoming a stress, an added stress, because I have enough stress to kill 10 people from my regular job. So this has become an added stress. And so I don't want it to be that. I want my show to be something that I enjoy doing. And I want it to be something that I can look at and go, hey, I'm having fun doing this. Not I'm doing this and I'm worried about a job because I have to make money trying to do that job. So that's where I'm at. That's the crux of the issue right now. So, somebody said here, 0.5% of Wolf's YouTube subscribers have joined. I don't know if that's a correct number or not, but that sounds about right. But those 0.5% are going to be rewarded with an extra show every month. I don't know. I am at a crossroads with the show. I have to do something. I cannot just continue to do free. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about it or whatever. So if you believe in what we're doing and you want to help the show continue and give me the reason to do it, then please join Patreon or do whatever you can. Because, I don't know. I lost 2 big accounts this past week on my job. And it was a heavy blow. It was a devastating blow. I mean, that's a lot of money. And 2 of them, actually, my clients, one of them is canceling at the end of November, and I'm sitting there going like, that's great. But then in the same day, I got another one that owes us like 40 grand or something that hasn't paid, which we're probably never going to get it because I know those kind of people that aren't paying their bill. So that being said, I got dumped on by a huge avalanche of crap yesterday. It's not the way you want to wake up and deal with life, and then you're supposed to go on a show and tell your stories and be happy and have a good time, and it was supposed to be fun, and instead I am stressed out to the point of I'm about to have a stroke and blood pressure high and arguing with people that don't want to pay their bills, and it's not. I'm just at a place where it's not. Charlie, thank you for that donation. It is greatly appreciated, believe me. Dina, thank you for the donation. We appreciate it. And so I have to be able to balance it out, and I need to be able to say, hey, this is actually paying for itself, which it's not right now with all the money we've been putting into this thing. And I've wanted, to keep it as cheap and as free as possible. Had a long talk with my wife, and she was just like, you need to step it up and be like, hey, we need to get paid. And it's not something that I'm trying to live a lavish lifestyle. No, I'm not even living in a house. If you want to know the truth, I'm just, and the gold I wear is actually my investment. Will probably be melted down into bars at some point so I can use it as a hedge against inflation, because I've been buying gold for about 15 years. So I'm not wearing it to look cool. It's just there. And I don't want to leave it at the house. And it's easier for me to have it on me. So if somebody tries to rob me, they can go to the house and rob me. If I'm wearing it, it's a lot harder. So that's that. And it's real. It's not fake, like some people said. I was wearing fake. No, I wasn't. I was going to wear a fake gold grill tonight and do a costume and all that, but I just wasn't up for that. But what I am up for tonight is getting to the meat and potatoes why we're here, and that's the stories. So we're going to get started here. Hope I can find them. So let me start it off with a ghost story here, okay? I don't know. You know what? I'll let you guys decide. We got a freaking a ton of like really good ones, and I put the best ones I had. I put my best foot forward, and I was like, you know what? I need to do some really good ones tonight. And then so I picked out about a dozen, and I thought I can't do them all, but I'm going to do the really good ones. So I'm going to let you decide. I got a dog. I don't know, a dog man type creature. I got a ghost story, a really creepy ghost story. I got a couple of them, and I got one that I think absolutely is a werewolf, and I think one is a Bigfoot that did something really terrifying. One about ogres, aliens. I got a cloaked creature, and I got another really creepy ghost story. I don't know. What do you guys want? Go ahead and vote. Who wants ghosts? Who wants Bigfoot? Who wants Dogman? Who wants lizard people? What do you want? What do you got? What do you want? I got it all. Somebody said crawler, black-eyed kid stories tonight. I do, but I was planning on doing those on another show. But, I mean, I can throw one in there if you need to, because we're here to do the Halloween. So here we go. Somebody says werewolf. Another person says ogre. Somebody says goose. I don't know. What is a goust? What is a ghost? Goust? Is that the spirit of someone with gout? Start with ghosts. Okay, y'all count, guys. How many we got here?
All right. For ghosts, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you for that
5,
donation,
6,
Sugar Britches.
7, 8, 9.
We got ghosts. All right, we're gonna start with ghosts. And this one, I'm not liking this. Okay, Charlene, I promise I'm not laughing or liking your story, but me and my wife were so freaked out about this story. We thought this is a good one. Okay, this happened in I'm going to start with this one. This one was really creepy. Okay, and I alluded to this when I was on with Jessica Jones on Halloween night. I went on there for about 30 minutes with her and Nick Valenti, and so it's something similar. If you go and you listen to that story about Suave, he was a real guy, and his ghost has been seen many times. But this story is very similar, and I thought, man, when this story it kind of grabbed me, no pun intended. But these people were in Buenos Aires, and they were in a hotel, and they were on their honeymoon. And so, what happened was, the hotel that they were staying at was haunted, unbeknownst to them. They did not know that this hotel was haunted. They found out, but it was like they checked in, and they started looking through a brochure, and they were like things to do, you know. And it was the beginning. It was the first stop of a trip through South America. Was there in Buenos Aires, and so. When they what the heck, I'm sitting here getting goose flesh while I'm talking about it. I haven't even gotten to this part yet. And so what ended up happening was they checked into this hotel, and the first thing they read about in this brochure are haunted places and things like that. And one of them is the hotel they're staying at. Okay. And now the hotel, I don't have the name of it on my phone. I have the story, but not the name of the hotel. But I wish I don't have my notes either. But anyway, it's a haunted hotel there in Buenos Aires. And the first thing that happened, they had like pitchers of water that they would leave on the counter, you know, like so that you can drink water. They would bring you fresh water. They don't give you bottled water. They give you a pitcher of water with glasses, and you pour yourself water. Okay. Well, what's going on? Buenos Aires is actually a pretty clean city. It's not one of these, it's not really third world so much. It is in Argentina. Argentina is a little more upscale, I guess you could say. It's kind of like, they call it the Europe of South America. Okay. And it's also one of the fittest countries in the world, which I don't know what that has to do with anything, but it's the truth. People there tend to be a little more healthier. So anyway, maybe that's why they didn't give them bottled water, because bottled water, we know, really, plastic is not really good for you, even though I'm guilty myself of drinking it. So the water, they noticed that overnight they didn't touch it because they didn't know how clean the water was. And there was a bit of a language barrier there, and they spoke limited amount of Spanish. And they were supposed to be meeting up with another couple, and that couple spoke very good Spanish, but on the first leg of the trip, they weren't with them. So they kind of were asking about the cleanliness of the water, and they didn't really get a solid answer. So what they said was the water, they didn't touch it. So the first night that they were there, they wake up in the morning, and the water is halfway gone. Now, I know evaporation takes place. I mean, it happens. I mean, water evaporates, right? But they said that it was nice and cool. It was in the fall, which would have been our spring, okay? And it was a crisp fall night, and there was no way that evaporation took place. So they noticed that the next day, and they were like, that's weird. Well, then the husband, he goes downstairs to because there's a couple toiletries that they forgot. And the female, she decides to take a shower while he's going downstairs to get a couple of things that they need. And she hears talking. And then she hears like arguing, like somebody's yelling. And she was like, what the heck is that? Well, she looks out of the bathroom door because she thinks her husband is arguing with someone. She said it sounded like his voice, but it was completely in Spanish. And then she thought, there's no way that that's him, because all she heard was noise. And then she opens the door and she hears Spanish. And she thought, well, John doesn't speak Spanish, so I don't know why there's this loud noise going on, in Spanish in this argument. And so she thought maybe somebody's yelling at him, but it was obviously two people, and it was a man and a woman. Then she hears a loud clack and then a thud, and then she hears this, like what sounds like a man panicking, and then he runs out of the room. She was convinced that there were people in there, so she sat in the bathroom until her husband came back in. Then he comes in, and then she hears the door open again. And then she's scared. She doesn't. Sugar Britches, thank you for that donation. Thank you so much for the donations, guys. She hears somebody come in, and then she hears him talking on the phone. Then she knew it was her husband. So then she opens the door, and she's like, John. She's like, somebody was in our hotel room. And he's like, what do you mean somebody was in our hotel room? And she's like, there's a man on the wing of this plane. No, I'm just kidding. She didn't do that. I'm joking, okay? It's Twilight Zone. But she said there was somebody in the room, and he goes, what makes you think there was somebody in the room? And he said, there was somebody in our room. It's like a blue light on my face here. It's like getting in, like. So anyways, she said there was a man in the room, and she said that she didn't know what was going on, but there was a man and a woman that were arguing. They were. Okay, so she said there was a man and a woman that were arguing, and she said that she heard a loud thud and then somebody scream, and then a man like being panicked, and he ran out. And she said she was convinced that there was something bad that had happened. Somebody had been hurt, and she was terrified. So she says, can we change rooms? So he says, okay, I'll go back down. She's like, no, don't leave me. She's terrified. So she sits there. He takes a shower. When they go back down after, and they eat breakfast, whatever, they go to the front desk and they ask. They said, "Hey, can we change rooms? We're scared. There's something going on in that room." And they said, "I'm sorry, the hotel is full. We don't have any rooms." It was a beautiful hotel. He said it was a very nice place, a very touristy but very beautiful place. And she said that they told him no, there's no more room. We have no more rooms. So they were stuck. And he said, "But you're going to be here for 3 days. We'll change out the room for you tomorrow. We'll give you another room." So he said, "Okay, we'll wait." So that night, they go out on the town. They do whatever they're going to do. They go back to the hotel. And then, in the middle of the night, this woman wakes up. The wife, she wakes up. She said she sees something in the darkness. She can't make out completely what it is, but it looked like a woman's figure standing there at the foot of the bed. And she said that it moved and went toward the bathroom and disappeared into the bathroom. And she was like, and she woke up needing to go to the restroom. That's a problem. because now she saw this woman, specter or whatever, go into the bedroom. So she turns on the light. She tries to shake her husband awake. He's sound asleep. She looks into the bathroom. She doesn't see anybody. So she goes into the bathroom, turns the light on, and she's looking around, and she leaves the door open because she just needed to do, number one. So she says, I'm just going to, sit here on the toilet. And she said she sits down to use the bathroom, and the door slams shut by itself. Loud. Her husband doesn't move. Does not move. He just lays there. Okay? Now, that being said, obviously we've heard this before. One person is being terrorized or terrified, and the other person's just oblivious to it. Now, some people are actually just oblivious to the spirit world just in general. I've been around them. I've met them. I mean, I witnessed a paranormal event at our club. There were like 10 or 11 people that noticed it, and there's 2 people standing there going like, I didn't see nothing. I don't know what that was. I didn't see nothing. And you're like, dude, like 11 people just saw a shadow move into the mirror. You didn't see that? No. So there's some people that are just turned off to it, or they pretend like they don't see it. I don't know. But they can sleep through anything, and they're not scared. You can't startle them. They're called sociopaths. That's basically what they are. So anyway, I'm not saying that he's a sociopath, but I'm just saying he's a sociopath. So he just laid there. He did not move. Okay. And I make no bones about it. He's one of those people that poo-poos everything, so I know how he is. He's just that kind of guy. Stuff could literally choke him to death, and he'd be dead and in hell and saying that he's not really in hell. Okay, guys. Joke's over.
Well, yeah.
It's getting kind of hot down here. I don't know what's going on, but you better stop this prank. You're gonna be in trouble. This is technically, detainment and kidnapping.
Well, I mean, hell hasn't been scientifically proven, so he'd just be down there like none of this is real. You're not real. There's no scientific explanation for this is fake.
Yeah. So he's one of those kind of people, so I don't doubt that he was just completely oblivious while this was going on. The door closes. She hears something that sounds like a woman being choked or choking, like trying to talk but choking. She can't make out any words. So at this point, she's terrified. She's like, I literally sat there for about 30 minutes and didn't move. She said the whole time she was trying to get up the courage to yell. Finally, she started screaming at the top of her lungs. Husband doesn't move. He doesn't get up. He doesn't do anything. Eventually, somebody begins to knock on the door because they hear her screaming from the hotel room next to hers. They knock on the door, and then she wants to get up, but she said she was so scared she couldn't. So finally, the hotel sent the security, and the security opened the door. At that point, when she heard them saying security, then she got up and went out and said, okay, it was me. I'm sorry. Something was in here scaring me. The security seemed to kind of be aware that there was something there. They were like, oh, okay. And they said, it's no problem. This room needs, some problems, whatever. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, there's problems. And so she says, okay. So she lays there, doesn't go back to sleep. She said about 3 a.m, there's that number, but she says a little after 3, she's laying there, and she feels the bed shake. And now this is literally something that was like out of a horror movie. I'm not joking. When I read this, I was like, this has to go for a Halloween show. She says this thing begins to rise up like a black shadow. It just begins to come up, and it goes up like until it becomes like the size of a person. This person was wearing like a shroud. It looked like, she said, it looked like it was all like a death shroud, like you would have like a white shroud. And she's staring at it, and she's like, what in the heck am I looking at? And she said that this thing turned, and it looked at her, and it began to crawl onto the bed. Not like real slow, like creepy, slow, whatever. She says this thing jumped on the bed and basically just began to crawl up onto the bed with her. And she closed her eyes, and she said, I let out the loudest scream you could possibly imagine. Her husband finally kind of groggily wakes. After all this is going on, he doesn't wake up at all. He finally wakes up. He looks over. He didn't see it. He saw the bed moving, but doesn't see the entity. She screams, the thing disappears. He freaks out. He goes back to sleep in like 20 minutes. He's like back asleep. It's over, whatever, done. She tried turning on the TV. She said about another hour goes by. TV gets turned off. She looks over in the corner of the room, and there is that thing again, the woman in the shroud. And she grabs her by her leg, and she says, "Estoy muerta," which means I'm dead or I'm death. And she screams and she shakes and she begins to pull her off the bed with one arm. And then she said she was staring straight ahead, not even looking at her, just pulling her. The terrifying thing, I mean, like if that wasn't terrifying enough, one of the things that was really terrifying about this whole incident was that when she looked down at the end of the bed, her legs were disappearing into whatever, into something. She was being pulled into something. And she said she screamed and she was like, "In Jesus' name, help me." She started screaming at the top of her lungs, and her husband finally gets up. He wakes up. He saw her legs like almost to the knees disappearing. Still doesn't see this entity. I don't know why this thing can cloak itself to people, but show itself to her. And then he grabs her and pulls her back up, and then that's it. They jump up. He's like, "Okay, that was whacked out. That was weird. I believe you, whatever." And then they get out of there. It's like, "We slept in the lobby." She said, "We slept in the lobby, and we got our money back. They refunded for the night." And then they said, "You want another room?" They said, "No, we don't want another room. We're good." And they went and stayed in a Fleabag hotel for a couple days until their friends showed up, and then they went on to Patagonia or whatever the heck they were at to do. Now here's where, folks, I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. Okay, what are we doing? All right, folks, I'm right back. So, yeah, the dog. Did you guys see the animation? Isn't that cool? That's really cool. See, but anyways, that's a story that I was given. That was someone's hand that went across the screen there. That was the dog man. Yeah. So, anyways, I am about to die of thirst over here, dude. And I sent the most inept person to go get me a protein.
Yeah, Tony's lollygagging.
Yeah, so he's doing what he always does, is lollygag. And I need some protein. It's been over an hour now, so I guess the workout I did. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. My voice was going out yesterday because I got so mad. Fuck, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I was screaming at the top of my lungs yesterday at 3 different people. They were screaming, I was screaming, and it was a waste of our time. But when someone doesn't want to pay you and they use the worst excuse in the world, it's pretty frustrating. Oh, I'll be right back, folks. What the fuck is this? Where's the pumpkin? All right, there we go, folks. Sorry about that. I'm losing people here. Okay, so next story. What do you guys think of that? What do you think of that, Zane? Zane's in the studio with us. Anthony, you're in the studio. What do you guys think of that? What do you think that was?
I don't know. I mean, I think all shadow encounters are malevolent entities. Now, whether they're demons or demonic or not,
It wasn't a shadow.
I thought you said that it was like she was wearing, or is that gross?
Not into it.
Try this.
No, I'm good.
Just make sure
I'll
that
take your word for it.
This is nothing like I had yesterday. I don't know what that
Okay.
is. Sorry, folks. I got a smoothie that obviously somebody peed in or something.
Oh God, Jesus,
Dude, I don't know what
Tony.
that is. Terrible. I've never had one that bad in my life.
What'd you put in?
Exactly what you ordered.
That is not what I had one yesterday.
Oh.
Remember yesterday I ordered one and it was like the best drink ever.
I think I need to lick a dog's butt to get that disgusting taste out of my mouth. It might taste better.
No, dude, no, we don't have time to take it back, folks. Sorry about that. I sent. Was that a dog man getting swooped up by a UFO? Oh wow, that was pretty cool. I'd never seen that before.
Oh yeah. By the way, Jade in the chat asked. He said, "Cool Dogman Animation. Who made it?" And just want to point out that it's Alec who made that. He's our new tech guy, and we're working out some stuff. So that's why we're kind of we'll have some kinks in the live stream in the here and now, but we'll get them worked out. We're just trying to up the.
We have a new computer
production
that we
value.
haven't installed yet. We're waiting on a part for it, and then it'll come out. Sorry, folks. I just drank a smoothie that I don't know what bowels of hell that came from. That's nasty, dude. That doesn't taste anything like what I had yesterday. So if they gave that to you, those kids are playing around. I don't know what they're doing. They probably did something gross. I don't know. I hope we didn't just eat poop. You think maybe we drank some poop water?
I don't know. I think I should wash that down with some poop water. It would
were
probably taste
Did
better
you make them mad? Did you
comparatively.
anger these kids? Because there's a bunch of kids working up there.
What'd you have for kids? And what I asked for was a medium gladiator, a pumpkin, and they said they couldn't do that. What they could do was make it vanilla and then add pumpkin.
Oh, that's why it looked
That is not what. Okay.
I talked to them. I said,
The beauty of this is that I know the owner of that place, and so I'll be talking to them about and they're always that one. There's terrible. They're always bad. They
I
don't.
said add almond, kale, and banana. That's everything I said.
I said almond butter, almonds, kale, banana, with pumpkin flavor.
I didn't miss the almond flavor or the almond butter. That's the only thing I missed.
Wow,
But besides that, it's exactly what.
that is. What did I say? I said it was
Yep.
four ingredients and couldn't do it. So I knew that was going to happen. Somebody said, "Do not drink that. You'll get." Yeah,
I should have just got one from the gas station.
yeah. I'm gonna have to now. I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I guess somebody wants to go do that. Wants to go over there and get that to take it because I got to drink. I got to eat some protein. I worked out earlier, so I don't care. Just something that doesn't have a lot of sodium and that I can drink. So here's one for you guys. What do you want to hear about? Alien doing some weird stuff? You want to hear about a cloaked creature? Do you want the ogre story? I got a Bigfoot attacking somebody. I got a werewolf, skinwalker, dog, bear, man. I don't know what to call it because I don't know what to call it. Man, bear, pig. Okay, everybody knows
you
it.
go.
Somebody said go Phillies. What's the score anyway? Is somebody going to tell me the score on there?
I'll look it up.
It's when your strike zone is different than the other team. It's kind of hard to win. We knew this was going to happen, but it is what it is. We're Texas, and we always get the short end of the stick when it comes to sports. We're under siege.
It's 2-1 Phillies, I think, right now.
2-1.
Yeah.
The Astros really need to win that one. So we got cloaked creature, please, werewolf, alien, dogman, alien. Looks like alien. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Let's do aliens. We're always doing Dogman and Bigfoot.
Yeah. Another thing, folks, I was going to tell. I'm going to bring this up. I'm never doing a large drop again. I am never ever doing a large drop again. I mean, that we dropped all those episodes that me and Barton worked on, and we got one of them that got like 20,000 views, which was like one of the 3 episodes that I did with Kumbo. The other 2 got like 5,000 each. I think it's because of the titles. I blame the titles probably. Maybe people looked at it and thought, this doesn't sound interesting. Let's just all watch this one video. which seems to be what happened. There were a few of them that got like, several thousand views, and then that one got like 20,000. And then there's like 2 or 3 that got like 2,000. And they were really good. I thought they were really good episodes. And then we put a lot of work into them. And then there was a couple that just got like 1,500 or 1,700. And I'm going like, what the heck? Like the ones with Daryl Denton I thought were really good, but those didn't get very many views. And I don't understand. The only thing I can think of is the title. So I was thinking about it, and I was looking at Thieving Sasquatch. It doesn't sound like, if it was me, I can understand. Like, I'd probably be like, that sounds boring. I'm not going to listen to that. Who cares about a Sasquatch stealing? But really and truly, they were all part of a larger stream, a larger whole. So it was, I don't know why people choose to listen to the ones that they did. The ones with Kumbo, one of them we had to cut out about half an hour. Don't do that, please. We had to cut out about a half an hour of stuff because me and him began to talk about Africa, and then we talked about South America, but not about the cryptids there. But then after the show was over, he began telling me and Barton like about all these cryptids and people that he had met in Africa that had seen Makili Mbembe, and I'm like, what? That didn't come up in the show. So we got to get him back on at some point so we can just talk about that. So we got a good hour of material we need to get on with Kumbo. But unfortunately, it just was very lopsided in the views, and so I guess what I'm going to have to do is just from now on we can't do the big drop. We're just going to have to do one episode. No matter how many I record, we're just going to have to drop one a week, and then that's all. That's it. So that right there. Sorry, folks. I'm never doing that again. That was a big mistake, and we didn't get the views, because I think people were overwhelmed. There was 26 episodes, and some of them just didn't get looked at. So I can't have videos on my channel that look like 1,000 people looked at it. It just doesn't look good. Another thing too, like the one with Jesus Payan, I want to call him Jesus. His didn't get very many hits either. I thought that his were really good. I thought that people would really be into it, but they just didn't get a lot of hits. But if you haven't watched them, I encourage you to go back and watch all the episodes just to check them out, because me and Barton did a lot of work. We put a lot of effort and work into it. And somebody says I can't watch 26 hours in a week. You don't have to do it all at once. But I know that not many people were watching those particular episodes, and I just wanted to tell you that they were actually, I thought they were very good. Good. Premier Protein. Not the best tasting thing, but got to do it. Sorry, folks. I had to slam that while we're on the air. But so we're going to do this alien one. Now, this is not a big fantastical, but it's weird and it's very odd. And I'll be real honest, it would make the hairs on my body stand up if this happened to me. There was a guy, and he told me this story. He was living with his girlfriend, and they started getting serious, and she said, "Hey, I'm an abductee." And the way she said it, he said, "I'm literally eating a bowl of cereal," and she's just like, "Hey, by the way, I'm an alien abductee, and I have an implant in my leg." And he's like, "Okay." And after she said that, he goes to work that morning. He worked in a warehouse, and he said, "I was literally driving my forklift." And he goes, and I crashed into the side of a freaking wall of a big whatever. And he said, "Dude, it was so crazy." He goes, it just like it hit me out of the blue." I was like, "Dude, she really is an abductee." There's been a bunch of weird stuff that's happened since I've been staying at her place. And yeah, this is true. Why she chose that day to tell him, I have no idea why she chose that day. But she did, and he said that it was crazy. He's like, it was like I just was driving this forklift, and I just run into the freaking wall. Well, not the wall. I forgot what he called it. The thing that holds all the pallets. What is it called? The big shelves or whatever. He said I ran into a shelf wall. And he said, dude, my boss asked me what the heck was wrong. He goes, dude, I couldn't even stand. I was so scared. I freaked out. And he said that he was having a lot of anxiety. And he said that he got to feeling sick. So he went to the break room. And after he sat there for a little bit, he asked if he could go home. Said he hadn't missed a day in 4 years he was working there. And he said that when he was driving home, he started going through all the different things that had happened since he had been with her. One of them, he began to remember clearly. They were coming home from a restaurant, and they were going down their street, and they were almost to the driveway. And he says, dude, it was about 1 a.m. We had stayed there and had a nightcap, whatever. We were driving home. This happened in New Mexico. Go figure, Santa Fe. And so he says, I'm driving home. He says, dude, and then all of a sudden, I wake up the next day, and we're in bed, and I got my shoes on. And he had just thought, this is weird. He goes, I had never looked into alien abduction. I had never thought about alien abduction. I wasn't into UFOs. He did say that he had read a couple books about the paranormal when he was younger. Like he kind of was fascinated by ghosts because this man claims to have seen the ghost of his grandmother, which I can relate to that. I saw my grandmother in a dream. And then one time when I was really sick with H1N1, if anybody knows what that is, I was dying from it, over a decade ago. And I believe I saw my abuelita on my mom's side, which is my grandmother. So I've seen her twice. And then on my dad's side, I saw my grandmother who was in a dream. So I can relate to that. And when he was telling me about it, he said, I saw my grandmother. But this had nothing to do with that. That was just something that happened, before. But he goes, dude, I woke up and I had my shoes on. And he said his girlfriend, was his girlfriend at the time, she's laying in the bed. And he tries to wake her up. And she said she was just out. She was completely unconscious. But she was nude. She had no clothes on. And he's like, why am I sitting here in pants and a shirt? Why would I go to sleep like this? And he goes, I knew we had a couple drinks. He goes, but we were not drunk. And he goes, and we kind of sobered up, before we left. He goes, I'm pretty straight edge. I don't drink much, And it was a birthday for a friend. And he said, dude, I'm sitting there going like, that was one incident. He said another incident happened when they were sitting there watching TV, and they were watching network television, which believe me, that'll put anybody to sleep, and you might never wake up. The acting is terrible. It's the worst ever. If you watch any of the major you're just going like, what is this, dude? Like, and it's so predictable and silly and stupid. And so, they probably bored themselves to sleep and then went to sleep, didn't wake up. But he said we were sitting there, and he goes, and we had put some food in the oven. She had put a casserole in the oven. He said, and then we hear like a knock on the back door. And he said she goes to the back to answer it. And then he goes, next thing you know, I'm waking up, and it's in the morning, and she's upstairs, and I'm on the couch. And he goes, and there's this burnt casserole sitting on the counter. So that was weird. So he kind of began to think that maybe the house was haunted, because he did have an incident that happened in the bathroom one time. He thought he heard a knock on the door in the bathroom. He goes to answer the door, and there's nobody there because he thought it was his girlfriend. But he goes, she's one of those people that just barges in. Believe me, I can relate to that too. Just barges in, doesn't knock. So he's like, why is she not knocking, He said he's driving home from work that day, and these are all going through his head. He's like, what the heck is going on? What is going on? She tells me today that she's an alien abductee, and now all these things are starting to come together. He said, but the most terrifying thing was yet to come. He said the scariest thing that he could remember, and I'm leaving that one for this, prior to what ended up happening, was that he was laying in bed, and he thought he saw two figures walk by the bedroom real fast. And he looked, which is why he thought the house was haunted. He gets up and he runs over there and he looks, and they're not there. And he could have swore that his girlfriend was laying in the bed next to him, and he looks and she's not. Then he gets really, really sleepy, so she lays down, crashes out. And he goes, I don't understand why I did that. He's like, my girlfriend
Was
just, you know,
missing.
yeah. I mean, give me your
And
input
then-
here, guys. I mean,
Well, I mean, there's just a weird train of thought just thinking about it. Is like, oh my gosh, she's gone. Well, time to go to bed.
Yeah. I guess that's it.
That's what it
I'll see her in the morning.
is basically. Like, I mean, I just found it funny that that's probably definitely something that they did, right? They definitely just made this guy fall asleep again and totally ignore the fact that his girlfriend was just entirely missing.
well, you know, I went over this story with my wife, and I decided that if I was ever to be laying next to Nellie and I woke up and then she was gone and I was like seeing two things walk down the hallway and I go and I look and they're not down the hallway anymore, I just decided that right then and there I told my wife, I said, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to lay down and go to sleep.
Put on a football game,
Yeah, well, the football game's on and, you know, and whatever,
Yeah,
the
just-
baseball game, I'm just going to go to sleep.
make a nice
gonna close the door
tub
first.
of popcorn.
Yeah, I'm gonna lock her out
Yeah,
of the bed.
whatever's going on, let her deal with it. 'cause
Obviously, she's comfortable where she
But you know, the thing is, when you talk to this guy, and he's a pretty level-headed guy. I mean, he's got you know, he's in middle management. I mean, he can do all kinds of things. And actually, driving forklifts is a skill too. You know, he's not just a forklift driver. Like, he was doing that because the guy that was there is, you know, so he's in middle management, and he had never missed a day of work. And where he works at, he's pretty. You know, he told me, he goes, I make decent money. You know, we have a nice 3-bedroom house. We have a, you know.
gets
He
fun
said that there were times when the cats and the dogs would act weird. I think one of the worst parts to this was that she was pregnant at one point, and she miscarried twice, which is weird. Like, one time she was pregnant, and then she wasn't pregnant.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, like, even if nothing happened, the question is always there. So it's like you never get peace of mind.
Yeah. So you got to wonder, like, what was going on with that. I mean, you know, it doesn't. I mean, he asked me about that, and I'm embarking on the alien abduction thing or whatever. But I'm trying to get, you know, these other shows, the views from these other shows before we drop a bunch of other shows. Like I said, we're not going to drop them all at once ever again. But he asked me about what I thought about that, and I'll be real honest, dude. That's a very tough thing to talk about. What am I supposed to tell this guy? I'm not going to tell you that this is why she didn't have her children. I mean, and that is one of the tough things that is to talk about. The alien abduction phenomena is very tough to talk about because there's a lot of trauma and just horrific things that go on. And one thing I hate is when people make fun of it. When I was at that conference, most of the people there, I'd say 99% of the people there, were polite and kind. And we were at the UFO conference in San Antonio. I was with Ken, Gerhard, and Anseline. And you know, there was a guy that was sitting next to me at one point, you know, and he was like, you know, when Daniel was doing his presentation, he was just kind of there, and then he kind of just goes, yeah, right, like and he gets up and walks off, and then I saw him kind of scoffing later on. I guess he was with his wife, and it looked like she was into it. So he kind of aggravated me, so I did what any red-blooded American would do, and so when he was walking, I tripped him, and he fell and hit his head and busted his head open on one of the tables. And then he just laid there and bled out.
I remember. Then Anthony said he came and he kicked him real quick and then walked off like, and pretended like, oh no.
The camera over there can be moved, I guess, so that you can get both of them. Maybe we could do that.
More
so we can
importantly, all
see
three of
Dane.
us.
Well, we got Banjo there. His little costume was ready to go yesterday, but unfortunately we didn't make it. No, the guy. I didn't trip the fat dude and make him fall. Yeah, he was a big fat guy, and I didn't make him fall and bust his head open. It's like one of those where the cut scene in the movie where you're just daydreaming of it, and the guy's like, "Oh, my head!" And he starts to die, and you're over there like, and everybody's like, "Yeah!" They're clapping, and then you wake back up, and you're like, "Oh, sorry. Are you going to buy a book, sir?" Oh, yeah, sure, yeah, whatever. But you're just daydreaming it. You know, it's
Yeah.
like in the movies. You want the guy to lay there and die and bleed to death. That happens all the time, right?
Everybody does that.
Everybody does
Obviously,
it, right?
everybody.
We're not just a group of sociopaths here.
Nah.
Okay, all right, cool.
Social-
I do it all the time. I'm standing in the line and people are going like,
In fact,
Marlboro
Man,
Reds and
man, I walk
lottery
in like-
tickets, and and then you're sitting there daydreaming that their head falls off. Not wishing bad on people, but when somebody sits there and they're talking about this, and then the person is sitting there mocking them or going, whoa, 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 and he looks like he waddled out of his basement to go to this conference because somehow he had a person that was interested in being with him.
Right.
Once you get to that point, though, I think that she should probably reevaluate her choices in life. But he was an annoying individual. But so back to the story, like what happened was he started to go through all these weird things. He said, "Dude, he's like, it's such a weird thing." Wolf, he told me, he says, when you take each case, each little story by one at a time, you just think it's just a little nothing. But then when somebody tells you at breakfast, he's like, I go to work, and then it's like,
the puzzle just fits together.
yeah, and you're going like, dude, what is going on here, dude?
Did they ever go and get the thing that was in her leg evaluated?
This is what he told me about that. And now, I know you probably don't know what's going on, but Tony, you probably remember when we had Bass and Truth on
Yeah, I
well, we
loved.
had Bass on, or
Yeah.
no, Truth. They're twins.
They're great.
Yeah, they're really good guys, man.
Italian
We hung
black
out with them
guys.
at the
You'll love
conference.
them.
They're awesome.
Sound
dudes.
like mob guys, but they're black. They're hilarious.
Love it.
I love them.
Yeah, they're African American. What's really crazy though is that me and Tony and Anthony also did some research into a case that I turned over to Daniel Jones to look into, and to Nick Redfern. It was a set of twins. They were black, but they lived in Europe. They were living in Germany. They're not German of German ancestry. They're African American, but their family was in the military, and they stayed on the base. I think it was Ramstein or something like that. They were on the base when they were young. In fact, I'm almost certain it was the Air Force Base. And so they were telling us these stories, and so we were going over it, and we were talking to Bass and Truth about it. But what's really crazy is that this guy, like he all of a sudden just, it's like an epiphany, like boom, all this stuff is happening. And how did I miss this? Well, it's very simple to me because like Anthony, we were talking one day, you remember, and Tony, we had this conversation, and he said, well, I've never really had anything weird happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, okay, what about this? What about the time you heard La Llorona? What about the thing in the living room, the black cloud thing? Then when he started going over each one individually, he said, holy crap, I've had about 6-7 paranormal things happen.
Yeah.
And he's actually talked about it on the show. The same thing with you, Tony. Like we were talking about it, and you started going through all these different things that had happened. Well, this guy had it all come to him at one time. And then he said the most terrifying thing was like that night he went to sleep, lay down, went to sleep, and there up until this other thing happened. And he was like, dude, I wake up to the scream, and I go downstairs, and my wife is covered in dirt. And once again, she's partially clothed. Mm-hmm. She's laying on the couch, and she's just screaming, and she's hysterical. And when he tries to go toward her, she tries to bite him. She tries to claw him and all kinds of stuff. So he's backing up. He's like, okay, fine. And then he kept thinking, there's something psychologically wrong with my wife.
Right.
And I'm living in a haunted house. That's the only thing he could think of. So then one day, this is the most terrifying part of the story. And this is what prompted him. He talked to a neighbor who talked to somebody and told him, hey, get in touch with this guy, Josh Turner. And so I pestered this guy until he, got out of his psychiatric appointment. And I was like, dude, I don't care about your lithium. Just tell me the story, all right? I'm joking. I'm kidding. I'm joking with you, man. I'm joking. It's jokes, fool, jokes.
Thank you, Michael, for the $5.
Thank you for that donation. And so he says, dude, I go downstairs one night to make a snack. And this is after she had told him that. And he said about 2 weeks went by, nothing happened. He just kept contemplating all these things, And he goes, I got myself together. I just went to work, and I said, maybe my wife is an abductee. And so he started looking into it. So he went and he read a book, and I've read this book, and me and Dan Jones talked about this book, Bud Hopkins, Intruders. Read it when I was a young guy. Not real big into that phenomena back then, but hey, man, when you're in a facility, you read what you can get. Yeah, okay, so I was reading that when I was a teenager, and I was in this place or whatever, and so I read Bud Hopkins' Intruders, and I didn't finish it, but so when I got out of that place, I
Finished it.
I went to Half Price Books or something, and I finished it, and I was reading it at home by myself, and I had a horrible nightmare. Folks, it was just a nightmare. I promise you, this was just a nightmare from reading that book. I'm not one of those people that has nightmare from reading stuff, but I know this was just a nightmare, okay? This was not no aliens trying to get me. It was just a nightmare because it freaked me out, okay? In that apartment, I don't even think, if it was something in there, I never saw anything. In that apartment, I never saw anything. So anyway, this guy, he says he goes downstairs to make himself a snack. He's walking through the kitchen, and he says, I see something. Our back door has like a glass, you know. Mm-hmm. He says, I look, and there is standing there in the door. Just standing there looking at him, just a quintessential gray, like a gray alien. If folks, if you don't know what a gray alien is, go look it up. It just
literally just look up gray alien.
Yeah, just look up Tony, and you will see kind of what a gray is. You can look at him right now. Here's Tony. You can see what kind of looks like a gray. He's got the gray hat on anyway, and. At certain times, though, he does kind of look like a gray, right? Right, Zane?
If he had like a peach on his head and it got a little bigger.
Look at the way he's looking. Look at it. The alien's got to have a littler mouth, though. He's got the small mouth. I always thought Arash kind of looked like, because he has that little tiny mouth and he's got that triangle head. Yeah. I used to call him but then I used to call him Baby Ostrich Head Face too. But then that was when he shaved his head. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. But so here's the thing. He sees this standing in the window, a gray, like what looks like a gray alien, and he's like, I'm standing at it, and he goes, I'm holding a bowl. And he goes, and it's not one of those, moments where he's like, oh, he drops the bowl, it's all dramatic. He's like, I'm just standing there. He goes, so I go put the bowl down on the table, and he goes, it's a mixture of terror, confusion, and awe. And I said, dude, that is incredible. I had to take LSD to get all those emotions at one time. And you just, I'm kidding. I did not take LSD to get that. I did it for other reasons. But no, I'm just kidding. I don't do drugs. But this guy, he's standing there in the window, right? Or he's looking at this thing. And he's like, it is an alien. He says, dude, so I don't know what to do. He goes, I go and I just sit down on the table. And he goes, and I look down for a split second. I look back up. And there's something, this thing began to move, and then he sees what he looks like another one, walking with it, like in front of the kitchen window. Then, okay, and I'm not kidding, you can see the hair on my arm standing up. Then he looks back in the window, and that's when he sees a completely black, what looked like it had a Godzilla head-looking creature, black reptilian, solid black. And he said it was huge. And he said it was squatted down looking in the window, and it was looking like that. And he said the eyes were reddish orange or orangey red. And he said, dude, I was looking right at this thing. And he goes, and then he said this thing began to turn the doorknob. And he says when it's turning the doorknob, he goes, I'm looking at this door, and the door is unlocked. And he said at that point, he's like, this is, and then the door, he says the door opens. And it just opens. And he's standing there, or he's sitting there. He goes, and I'm sitting there literally in my boxer shorts. He goes, and I don't know what to do. He goes, I had every emotion going through my mind, going through my body. He goes, and I went to the bathroom.
Oh, no.
On myself.
Oh, no.
And he said that this thing, when it started to kind of come through the door, its shoulders hit the door. So it began to turn to the side to come in. He's like, and then at that point, I got up, and he goes, and I got the courage, and I screamed at the top of my lungs. He said, dude, and I started throwing everything that was on the table. He goes, bills, the bowls, the box of cereal, everything I could find. I was throwing it at this thing, and he said it was like a shocked look on his face, and then it just kind of backed out and just kind of, and he said it kind of swiveled its. I'm trying. He didn't show me, but I'm trying to. The way he told me, I'm trying to do it. He said it kind of shimmied itself back out, and it was back out the door, and then he saw a flash of light, and he saw another one, and then he was like feeling drowsy, and he thought, oh no. I'm not going to be going to sleep. He's like, he had been reading about this stuff. He's like, I'm not going to sleep. Right. And these things dragging me off, He said he staggered up to the in the hallway. He said, but now I'm not going to tell anybody where he lives because you know where he keeps his firearm, but he had a firearm and he pulled it out of the drawer and he says, I'm going to shoot these things or something. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then he said that at that point, he woke up and he was laying in his bed upstairs. Wow. And he said, dude, and like that incident just happened like I'd say, what is this, August? Was it September, October? That was about 4 months ago? 3 months ago? So I haven't talked to him on an update for that. So I don't know what else has happened since then, but he said that was the most terrifying thing that ever happened in his freaking life. Okay. And when he told me that, I was like, dude, that is the most terrifying thing that's ever happened in your life. I can't say it was for me because most terrifying thing happened to me, and that wasn't even the scariest story I've ever heard. But I did tell him, I said, that's a terrifying story, and I will tell your story on Halloween. Unfortunately, I don't have any answers for this guy. I can't.
Well, they got him in the end. Like they hit you with the old, you're sleeping the whole time? Come on.
That's some Inception stuff.
That's some Inception stuff. They got you in the end.
Got you with the nerve gas. You
went
to sleep.
No.
Feeling nice. I mean,
I thought it was a hero story. He was like, I'm not going to go to sleep.
No implants, no probing, no. None of that.
Well, thank goodness.
I mean, exactly.
I mean, that's the good stuff,
Anyway,
that's not happening to you.
Thank you, Evan, for the $20 donation.
Thank you for the donation.
That actually is pretty terrifying.
Yeah, that is a scary one. Now, this one, I'm texting someone because I want permission because I did not ask permission to tell this story. So I'm message. I think that they're okay with it because I didn't get an answer back earlier. Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing. Let me go to Messenger. Sorry, folks. Folks, I want to tell this other story, but I got to make sure this person's okay with it. Are you okay with it? Okay. All right, we're good.
Hey, let me know if you're wrong or if you don't want me to do it.
And now,
I don't hear anything.
A message from our sponsor. Hey, folks, are you tired of being abducted by aliens? We all are. So why don't you buy the Bug Off 2028? Works on mantis creatures. And that's about it. Doesn't work on grays. Doesn't work on Dogman. Doesn't work on reptilians. It just works on one thing. Kind of like something else that's been pushed lately. But if you get that one creature, well, Bug Off is for you. And now back to the show.
Thanks for that sponsor. I really appreciate your time. Anyway, Zane, what do you think about anything UFO-like with you?
Oh no, I have never had any kind of alien experience whatsoever.
Bass and Truth told me their alien experience, and I think I kind of talked to them about how I think it was a little bit deeper than what they thought maybe. Yeah. So I told them to just maybe reevaluate it. They said they appreciated that, so yeah, that was always cool. That's why I always liked talking to Bass and Truth because
right. So what do you think aliens
real cool
are?
Dude.
I have a theory that they're like a very distant version of us, like maybe 2,000 or 3,000 years in like the future that kind of like figured out how to dimension jump or time flip, and they just come around.
Maybe that's one version, but there's too many different types.
There's so many
that it's hard to say that exactly if that's what they are. I'm sure that we have probably some time travelers that come back disguised as aliens.
That's all I wanted to do.
You remember that picture of that dude?
So, folks, you guys are talking, I know. But folks, here's what we got. If anybody wants to tell a story tonight in between my stories, be my guest. Come on and talk about your. Tell us a scary story. If you have a scary story tonight, is your chance to come on and tell a scary story. Making sure that I'm okay to do this. And I got permission, and great. Okay, so that story, we're good. We're good to go. But if anybody wants to tell a story, we can call. We can set up a link. How do we do this, guys? I don't know how any of this techie stuff works here. But
Do you have Discord?
I don't know how we're doing it. I don't know. What are we doing?
We just need to open the browser on there.
Okay, so we open the browser.
Just go to the Be Right Back screen.
Yep, right there. We're all right. I can do this.
Go to Facebook.
That it right there?
No, just go to Facebook.
Oh, we're going to do the messenger thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a lot of people don't have Facebook, so certain people aren't going to be able to call in. I thought we were doing it through Zoom. I mean, we could do it. However, it would be better to do it through Zoom. A lot of people don't have Facebook. So Facebook Messenger is not going to work unless they're going to have to go sign up for Facebook just to call in. I don't think that's fair.
Call their number through Skype.
Yeah, guys.
Skype's
How are they going to get me the number?
Great.
That's a good
Gary is definitely interesting. That's for sure.
one. What happened? That's what. Oh my gosh, that was the whole thing. People were going to be able to be in the queue, so that they could call in, and then they could tell their stories. That was the whole point. I don't know how that was missed. Okay, so we advertised something that apparently we can't do.
No, I just turned it off. I just need to turn
Well, we can do it then.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's do that. Let's do it. I mean, it's Alex taking care of it. Thank you, Alec. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight, and I wanted to what I was envisioning for tonight is not what's happening, and it's nobody's fault. It's just that we don't have the system set up to run it. But I can tell you this. We're going to have it. It's going to, once we get that last part for the computer, that will be it. We will have a system. This is the best computer that we can get to run everything, and we will, guaranteed, it's gonna happen. Okay. So we were hoping to be able to have to where people could call in, and then we were going to have a panel with a Zoom call, but this apparently is not strong enough to run all that, so we couldn't do it. But when we get the computer set up, we can, right? That's going to work. We'll eventually be able to do a lot more than what we're doing right now.
I can still have the panel up but I need to remove the guest cam.
Yeah, and that's too much work. That's why I just said, hey, let's just forget it. I mean, we're just going to run with what we got. You know, we kind of ran by the seat of our pants because last night fell through, so we're here tonight. I guarantee you that last night we would have had a lot more people in the chat, but you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is, dude. And tonight we're not competing with everybody else's Halloween show, so you know it's good. It is what it is.
I'm thankful to people that are still here, part of this.
I had good news today. AT&T owes me a $15.96 credit,
Oh no!
Nice.
so now my bill is not $804.
You can get two
That's
cold
good.
candy bars.
Yeah.
That's like when Wells Fargo sent me we accidentally took like $3. Here's a check. I'm like, I'm never gonna cash this ever. For $3.
Yeah, I think
waste
now
of
it's
gas.
like it's $789 my bill now instead of 800 and whatever it was. So
Inflation.
yeah,
Thank you, Curtis, for the $5.
let me tell you guys something though. I'm gonna tell another story here. Unless somebody wants to tell a story, somebody get on here and just let me know. And if the easiest way is if you do have Messenger, I can patch you in real easy if you have Messenger on Facebook. But if you don't, we'll figure something out.
That's what I'm seeing on here.
But if anybody wants to come on and tell a story, let me know.
Did they say they have it?
Why? Huh? I mean, I'm seeing that in the chat. A lot of people on Discord.
But first, a message from our sponsors.
Life alert.
Bo Jiden here. Dogman was a bad dude. And he ran around with a bunch of bad boys. They had a lot of weird names. Like Foot Big and Moth Guy. And the one from the lock, Nasty. There's one down in Florida, Love Lock Guy. All the crazy stuff down in Florida. Skunk Man.
The lake.
Another one down in Louisiana, the Booger-oo.
He's my favorite.
The scary old lake.
You better run that bridge, because they're smashing pumpkins when you're going across the bridge. And then he's out there sleepy hollow, ha, 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 and he throws. That's a bad guy. Ichabod Payne and Make It Rain. Why do I only have one loafer on? I don't know. So I took a chain. I chained myself up to the swimming pool diving board. That's what I did, folks. And I told him, you come up here. I said some things to these people. I told them, yeah, 46, going around. You know what I'm talking about. Kid with the purple shirt runs real fast. You know what I'm talking about. They were called the Kryptons, this gang. Kryptons. Captain, something like that. There was one up in Oregon, Squatch Pot, something like that.
Squeeze Squaw.
He was bad. He was a bad dude. They were all bad dudes. All right, I'll see you guys. Have fun on the show.
Thank you for telling us your experience.
Josh Wolfer. I'll see you. Which way do I go?
To the left.
Okay, all right. Wow, thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Stage right.
Can't believe we paid that guy.
Make sure that we're going to make sure that he gets his ad, and you're not offended. Okay. So now we got a dog, bear, man thingy. We got a skinwalker. We got a werewolf. We got Bigfoot breaking into stuff, and we got more ghost stories. It's up to you. It's what you want, man. What you want to do? What you want to do, Holmes? You know ese? Don't make me get loco. So we got a cloaked creature. What do we got here, guys? What do we got? Let's take 3 of those and let's vote. What do you guys? We'll start with ogre. Mm-hmm. Well, because we got Zane here who resembles one.
Yes,
obviously.
We told the one about Tony.
Please don't disparage my family like this.
You have brought shame on my family. We have Bigfoot. We have the werewolf. The dog, bear, man thing. That's kind of like me. I don't know. What do you guys want to hear? Somebody said ghost, giant. I didn't even give that as an option. Jeez. Another person with the giant over here.
I think it's the same guy twice. He did it 3 times. He's just really about giants.
Somebody said vampire. I didn't bring any vampire stories, but I could tell one, but it's not like the most terrifying thing.
I think I have a ghoul story, but it's not very long.
You do?
It's very nondescript. Yeah. It was a very flash in the pan moment while I was in New Orleans. Same.
Was this the black shadow thing you saw on the?
No, that was the
that was the
cemetery
werewolf
stuff.
thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I was walking with a friend of mine at like 3 a.m, close to one of the old underpasses in New Orleans, and there's no like street behind you that can turn and go down another street like into a neighborhood. There's like pretty much nothing around. We were like on the outskirts of, I believe, the French Quarter, and we saw this dude out of nowhere. Like I looked and checked at my phone, then looked up, and this dude was walking extremely fast. He had a very like blank expression. He was like pale white, and he just looked very disconcerting. You you just got like this very strange feeling. And he didn't look at us. He didn't acknowledge us, but he was moving like extremely fast. And me and my boy Jacob, that's who was with me at the time, both saw this thing. And then we looked back, and then he was just not there. And he told me that he believed it was a ghoul because he was from New Orleans and he
Yeah.
had heard a lot of stories like that. So I was like, well, that's hello New Orleans. So
That's crazy.
that's my very nondescript ghoul story.
That's crazy. I remember Ghoul Town.
You walk by and
That was Larry Blackburn, right? It was a singer for that band, Ghoul Town.
You met Larry
It
Blackburn.
was Larry Blackburn. Actually, I think he won on the Paranormality Awards.
Oh, really?
Yeah, look at Lyle won his category. I don't know if I won mine. I don't know. Nobody told me anything, so I guess I didn't. I didn't think I would.
yeah.
I don't think I'm good enough to win because I'm not, somebody's friend or whatever.
All that matters is that you're nominated.
Can you look it up
Yeah, let me see.
if you don't mind? Somebody said black-eyed giant ogre. I don't know if they're black-eyed giant ogre, but I'll tell the ogre story. Everybody keeps asking about that. This one was weird. I went over this one with my wife, and I thought, how many times do you get this happening to you? You're out riding around on a four-wheeler with your friends near Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the next thing you know, a giant ogre comes out of a portal and tries to kill and eat you. I mean, it's happened to me at least 4 times in this past month. I don't know how many people. Just kidding, folks. It's only happened once. No, I've never actually been to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but this happened near there. I guess that's the nearest major city, whatever. They actually live way out in the middle of nowhere, or they did. This happened to 2 stepbrothers. What's weird is they were so close in age, and they had been stepbrothers since they were like 5 and 6 years old. So they were very close. They grew up basically as brothers. This is when they were, in their early late teens, and so they had this encounter with something that I described it as an ogre because I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was, and they were telling me that it looked like an ogre. So, anyways. They're driving on four-wheelers, on ATVs, and it's at dusk, and they're driving around, and they're just having fun. It's a weekend. They're having a good time, whatever. They had 2 friends over, and they were taking turns. One of them would drive the four-wheeler and ride around, and they'd go back, and then the other one, and they would share whatever. But this happened to the 2 brothers, and they took their turn, the driver, the four-wheeler, whatever, and they were basically like racing because they had a large plot of land, 140 acres, and they were able to drive really fast. And he said, me and my brother, we were basically racing. I talked to both of them, but this particular brother, the first one, he was the one that gave me the most information. And he said, dude, we're driving and we see this like shimmering light. And he said that there's something that precipitated this, but I'll get to that in a minute. And he said that there was like this shimmering light, off in the distance. And so they said, let's go check it out. So they drove toward it. And once they got up there close to this shimmering light, they said it was almost like a swirling, and it had like different colors. It was like a pink, and then it would turn red, and then a bluish color, then it would turn into a dark blue, then a purple, and it just kept going like these weird colors. And he said that it was like this swirling ray of color, whatever. And he's like, dude, that's crazy. So they drive up to it, but not right, on top of it because they're intimidated. And then they said, dude, we got to go back and let's get our friends and bring them back over here. He said, well, when they get ready to turn, they see something come out of this circle, this circular-looking, swirling thing. The one guy, the brother, he told me, he's like, have you ever played World of Warcraft? I said, no, I have not. I'm a normal person. He said, no. A lot of people play that game.
Don't disrespect my childhood.
A lot of people play that game, all right? I'm not disrespecting. A lot of people play that game. But he said, have you played World of Warcraft? I said, no, I have not. He said, have you seen the orcs on there? And I said, well, yeah, I know what they look like because, like Zane just said, when he was a kid, and Tony, you guys all played the heck out of war.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Team Horde.
So I just was sitting there, envisioning what he was saying. He goes, it was like that, but not really. And they always do this to me. And so I'm going like, what am I supposed to describe here? He said, dude, now this is what he said. He goes, have you ever had those treasure troll, like those little heads that go on top of the pencil and you can like roll them in your fingers? And now I'm gonna kind of joke and make a little bit of fun at you, Trent, because I'm sorry, it's your name, but it doesn't matter. They don't know who you are. But I said, okay. I said, you mean treasure trolls? And I said, they had little dolls too. They were little dolls.
I thought they were dolls.
Yeah, and he was like, I don't remember those because I mean they lived in South Dakota, so they probably didn't know a lot of stuff was out there, you know. So he goes, I just remember the ones you stick on top of your pencil and you shake them around, whatever. And he said that now the reason he knew World of Warcraft is because his kids played it, just like mine,
Right.
like you guys did. And he says, dude, it looked, but he played it too, some with his sons. And he said, dude, it looked like one of those ogres, but the hair looked like the treasure troll from the you know. So I knew what he was talking about. And he said that it was an orangey color, but he's like it was like reddish, but more like orange, but it looked more natural, not like somebody would dye it, you know.
Right.
And I asked him what the skin tone looked like, and he couldn't really tell me.
Like clay, sort of, or something.
Yeah, he said that the skin tone he couldn't really tell me.
That's what I'm imagining when you say.
Yeah,
like orange
he
to
didn't
red,
because he didn't
you know.
tell. He couldn't because it was dark.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said that all we had were the lights on our four-wheelers, and when we would turn, we could see it. And he said it came out of this portal-looking thing, and it just stood there. He said it stood there holding like a stick in his hand. He said, and I'm thinking, this thing is holding like a metal baton, like a, you know, whatever. And he said, the next thing you know, this is when what his brother saw, not him, because I had to piece it together because I talked to both of them. And he said his brother was turning, and he said that it went like this a couple times, and it extended. 2 pieces of sharp whatever came out from each end. You know, kind of like only thing I could think of is like Darth Maul with the dual saber or whatever.
That's a bit
Yeah.
terrifying because, you know, normally you think these ogres are stupid. That's like their main thing is that they're supposed to be very dumb, right? That's what I thought.
Well, he didn't say it was an ogre. I did because I didn't know what else to call this thing, dude. And the thing is, it was very heavy set. He said it had a paunch, you know, and it had like its chest looked kind of flabby, like it was big,
Right.
but it had huge arms, and it was just. He said it looked like an overweight fat guy.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Like that's what he said.
Right.
But the one brother, this is crazy. Okay, so this thing steps out, and it throws this projectile at them. Right? So I guess it's something that comes out of this deal, and it shoots out, is what I'm thinking, I'm guessing. And so I asked him that, and he said, no, it was like he threw it like a javelin.
Right.
And he said that he goes, dude, I turned my four-wheeler, and it narrowly missed us. It went right between. It almost got me. And he said, I could hear the, that's what it sounded like. And I almost got it down to sound just like he did it for me. He said it was like a, you know, going back and forth, like, you know.
Like if you threw like a rope through the air, kind of like that.
And he said it made a really distinct sound. And then the voice, the way he did it with his voice, he played a recording for me that he had been practicing for like 2 hours to try to get the sound. So him and his stepbrother came up with that. And he said, this is the closest I could get. And he said it was like a, you know, and it was like, you know, that's about as close as I can get to him. But it said that you could hear it.
Yeah.
And he said it just went choosh, and it like went so far into the ground that only the little tip of the other side was sticking out. He said, I saw that thing, and I thought, we're screwed. And then his brother ended up like running over, like it clipped the tire, popped the tire, and he flipped. And he said, by the grace of God, when his brother landed on the ground, this thing went over the top of his brother. And his brother was just like, you know, he said these were big four-wheelers, you know, big size four-wheelers. And he said, dude, I swung around and I went to pick up my brother. And he goes, and I look back and I see this thing just kind of trotting. And then he goes, as I began to make my turn back around, his brother said, watch out. And he said, this thing was already on top of us. Like it had moved so fast that it was close to him. The way that he described it was like, to me, if you took like a giant, you know, and mixed it with an orc and then made it kind of like a prehistoric human looking thing.
Right.
But then he said that it was only wearing like a loincloth, and it was obviously, he said it was either barefoot or he goes, I didn't really see shoes, but I saw toes, but there was like this weird something on its feet, but he goes, it might have been just barefoot, you know, maybe the feet were just shaped really weird.
Right.
But the other brother that at this point had gotten on the back of the four-wheeler said that it had a glowing bracelet on its leg. And he didn't remember which leg it was. He just said it was a glowing bracelet. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, dude. I said, that son of a took my bracelet, my anklet.
Took my wife's
Oh my
bracelet.
gosh. No,
Well-
but I was
It brings up a lot of questions.
okay.
Well, for me, it brings up.
I don't know why a strange ogre coming out of a portal makes you question things, but whatever. Let's get weird.
Obviously,
Let's
it
get
wasn't.
weird.
It's some kind of prisoner that's being tracked, right? That's what the glowing bracelet is. I would assume.
Well, that's a possibility.
That's what I would think.
It
But I
probably
mean,
broke out of galactic prison and landed on
exactly.
Our
It came here for war, and then it saw these two ATVs, and we're like, these beasts are not about to get.
Why
me.
did it attack them though?
It's not about to be get by
Probably
these
wanted
beasts.
those sweet rides.
They didn't want to get got. It was about to get got.
It wanted a 4-wheeler. That's what it
It
wanted.
was like, I need that.
I'm tired of.
It was like the Terminator.
Walking
Your
barefoot.
clothes, your boots, your motor vehicle. I need it. Give it to me.
now.
They're like, F you, man. Then it takes the thing and throws it at him. What are you doing? You're taking off your shirt?
He's starting to strip.
He's taking. It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. I always thought, why don't you just open a window or turn the AC down?
That's
Why,
not
why
as
do you
fun.
have to take off all your clothes to get the heat off of you? I don't understand that part, but whatever. To each his own, man. Whatever makes you choo-choo run.
Buy a fan. I don't know.
And everybody that's donated, thank you so much. If I haven't thanked you, Michael Covert, Evan Tabaldo, and Curtis Turner. Thank you for those donations. It's greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated, believe me. So this thing had a glowing bracelet. So I asked him what color, and he goes, "I don't even know." He goes, "I thought it was like a bluish white." And he goes, "But I could be wrong. I just remember a glowing bracelet on its anklet on its ankle." Well, he said bracelet, but I know what he was talking. He's meaning an anklet. It was an anklet.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude, this is such a weird story. The other brother said that when they were turning the corner, he said, I see another one of these creatures. He's like, and it was coming from the north, like from the other side. You know what I mean? And I mean, he says it's coming from the north, and I'm like, well, where was the other one coming from? Come on, Lewis and Clark, tell me what's going on here,
I don't have a compass.
Yeah, I don't have. I can't. But the trajectory of this was from west to northwest. But he said that the other one was coming out of the east, and he said this one was coming from the north. He goes, it was definitely a different creature. It was not the same creature. He said it was smaller. It looked slimmer but more muscular. They were both very big and muscular. And the main thing that made him think of it being an orc, like World of Warcraft orc, he said, was that it had teeth. Like up
tusks?
and down. No, he said they were like tusks going up and down on both sides. And he said it was the weirdest thing that ever happened to him. Of course, I mean, if that happened to me, that'd be the worst thing that ever happened to me too.
Did he describe like any of the hair features on the smaller one?
Yeah, and so these things they didn't have a bunch of hair. He said they had what looked like, as far as they could tell, what they saw of them, they had normal hair like a human being would have hair.
So like on the forearms, like
And the
stuff like
skin,
that.
he thinks, may have been a light blue, because he said it definitely was not a normal skin tone, but he said that could have been from their lights or from the light of the moon,
Right.
Like the light of the moon illuminated it as blue.
Right.
But he said that he thought for sure that he was looking at this. It was, and so it was such a terrifying thing that happened to him, and he was just like, this is crazy, we're going to die. And he said this other one did the same thing. It did that same little movement. And he goes, I didn't even look back. We didn't look back. We just kept going, and we hauled out of there. And he said, as fast as these things were, they didn't catch up to us. And he said that we got back to the where there's like a barn. And he said the barn is like, about 50 yards from the main house. And then there's like another outbuilding and then a small A-frame house. And he said that we got to the closest, enclosure, which was the barn.
Right.
And screaming bloody murder. And so he said they turned around, they looked, and he said that they had, a couple friends there or whatever, and the friends were like, let's go look. We want to go back. And he goes, no, these things tried to kill us.
Yeah.
So they ran into the house, and they told their dad, and the dad was like, yeah, right, whatever, but I'll take my weapons, and I'll go out there. And they pleaded with the dad, don't go out there. Please do. They thought their dad was going to die.
I mean,
The dad drove out there. Okay, he had neighbors, and and he called them, but they could see him driving around out there, and the neighbors showed up, and he said their neighbors lived pretty far, but the closest neighbors, I think about 20 minutes they got there, and they were all driving around looking, and all they saw were like these weird looking footprints, but they couldn't. They just looked like the ground had been smushed in. There was nothing that could show toes or anything like that. It was just like smushed down ground, and then they saw
The
a big
crash.
hole in the ground, like what looked like a circular, like a hole, like it's like a meteor. So I asked them about that.
What about the ATV?
Huh? Listen. So I asked the guys about that. I said, dude, there was a hole in the ground that looked like a meteor. And the one brother tells me, he says, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. Earlier in that night, we saw what we thought was a meteor coming down. So we all took off out there.
That's important information.
Yeah, and he goes,
That's-
but he goes, we didn't. It was so far away, it didn't look like it had hit.
Yeah.
So he was like, he goes, I didn't think that was important until, and he goes, and then they said they saw like, because he thinks that his dad and his friends went way out, further out. Well, here's the question: if that meteor or whatever, if it's, let's say it was some sort of, I don't know, a portal that could hit and then project, pop up or something. I don't know what it
I'm
was.
thinking like Dragon Ball Z, like their pods, those circular pods that they would move around in.
You know what I'm
That's
thinking?
kind of what I'm like.
I'm thinking
My nose is itching bad.
that
glad-
meteor came down, and these whatever these creatures were like, we want that.
Yeah.
So then they came out of these portals, and they're like, we're gonna go get that.
Right.
So when they saw these kids, they were like, we don't want competition. We'll
Yeah.
just get rid of it.
They're lucky they didn't get
Competition,
galvanized
huh? They just
by space barbarians, because that's what
space
could've happened.
barbarians. There you
That's
go.
what it sounds
Space barbarian.
That is
That's
a
really
good way to put it.
Yeah.
The smaller ones, I was assuming, kind of look like scams from Oblivion, but like a little buffer. Yeah. See, that's why I was asking. But they're not orange; they're blue. Where'd Banjo go?
Where's he at?
He was just asleep with his head on the table a minute ago.
So, anyways, that's a story that came out of So, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it was a weird story. Me and my wife went over that story, over that case.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And-
But what happened to the ATV?
Yeah.
Were
Well,
they able to, like,
yeah,
recover
I
it?
asked about that, and he just said that the tire looked like it had been slashed.
Yeah.
That was it.
They couldn't find the weapon.
No
that
weapon,
would be
no.
Well, I
nothing.
mean, I'm assuming he would grab that. It seemed like kind of something you would want.
But there was a giant hole in the ground. But
Yeah.
he said that the hole was about 1.5 to 2 foot deep.
it was empty, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So
just an
they
empty-
grabbed it. I think what was ever in that hole, I think they wanted it and they grabbed.
They came out of the portal to grab that whatever landed.
Maybe, or they came from the meteor. But either way,
Why didn't they find the meteor to begin with? They didn't go out far enough, or
I mean, I'm assuming once you get a hatchet thrown at you by space barbarians, you probably don't want to go back and look.
well, no, that
Well,
was
I would
earlier in the
say-
night.
Oh, okay.
I would say that if I was gonna go to it, you don't land exactly right on it. You land a little bit out and you move to it so that no one really sees your portals. It was really random that these kids saw these portals, but I think that they were just like they went out.
It was
real
a chance
far.
encounter. You don't think they came out to hurt them?
Not them specifically, but I think they were out for that meteor. That sounds really random. Like, come on, a meteor strikes, and then these guys come out of nowhere. It's obviously correlated.
Yeah.
It's not obviously correlated, but it could be a coincidence. But
mean,
it's
what
a
else is in
really
South
unlikely
Dakota?
coincidence.
Well,
Of any,
there's
like,
a lot
great-
of stuff. Actually, if you go down the Black Hills, there's gold.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's okay.
Fair enough.
They say,
I mean, who knows what it could have been?
Yeah.
A drop ship from someone else that they're sending it to them so that they could pick up more materials. Who knows?
I believe that there is like some kind of intergalactic society that we just have absolutely no contact with because we're still so stupid.
well, if you think about it, though, what I was saying about the gold, that was what the Anunnaki were doing. They were here trying to mine for gold, and of course, people would say that they're some sort of extraterrestrial. Other people would say that they're demons. Angels to some, demons to others. Explorers on the edge of.
I think
whatever.
they're making a new one.
What does he say? Explorers from the edge of. Anthony knows the line. I don't know.
He would know the line.
Yeah, he would. Weirdo.
Nerd.
So we got another ghost story. It's pretty creepy. It's not real long, but it's pretty good. Then we got the dog man bear thing, which I don't know what it was. We got a skinwalker story. We got werewolf. We got Bigfoot. What you need? What you need? We got cloak creatures.
Call what you want.
What you got?
Whatever you need.
Yeah.
Right, sleepy boy.
Whatever you need, we got it. So let's take a
you
vote.
want?
Who wants to hear? Who wants to hear a?
Galactic Federation of Nerds, yes.
Who wants to hear the
put it on
cloaked
there.
guys? I'm trying to talk. I can't because we're talking about banjo over here. Cloaked creature Bigfoot breaks into something, or we can do a werewolf. What do you guys want? People saying dog man. I don't really have a dog man. Because for some reason people seem to have figured it out. They're like, oh, there's a dog man, a skinwalker, and a werewolf, and they're all some different thing or something.
Maybe skinwalker, but I don't
know how you tell the difference, but some people claim to be able to. They're like, oh, it's just an ordinary dog man, blah blah blah. Horrified scum. Why do you keep just posting giant?
He really wants giant.
He really wants.
Okay, hey, I think this person's just spamming that, dude. Y'all need to take him out of the chat because this guy is just, and it's making the feed fly. So you gotta stop. Get him out of there, horrified scum, please. He's obviously he doesn't know how to act. Can't just sit there and spam things like that, dude. And that just made my feed fly and just go crazy. All right, so here we go. Let's take a quick vote here, guys. The other person just was
what's
being
your
a
vote?
child and kept doing the things.
Zane, what's your vote? We'll see.
I mean, Thanos really wants man bear pig, but I don't feel like we have one of those. I feel like
There was didn't you say dog bear?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
where's the dog bear thing? Because
Y'all
I
want to
saw
do that one?
somebody-
Let's do
yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
let's do the dog
Okay,
bear.
we'll do the
I
dog,
saw
bear,
somebody say
man,
that.
bear,
Let's see.
dog.
Who said that?
This one's pretty messed up. This one happened in Wyoming. I believe. Montana. This one happened in Montana. So the dog bear man thing is a pretty horrific story, but it's not, and I don't want to. This is not a jokey thing. I'm not joking, dude. It was not a pleasant story to take. This man, he's a rancher. And he has about 40, 50 acres, and he had some cattle out there, and something was his cows were disappearing. I mean, completely disappearing. Okay, and he said that over the course of about 3 months, he lost 2 head of cattle. They were just large, steer, and they had just been. I mean, they were gone. They disappeared like somebody just like an alien abducted them. Thank you for that donation, the T Cutler. Appreciate that donation. So he said that this thing was like, whatever it was sneaky. He wasn't finding any traces of anything. It was just basically his cattle were disappearing. And he said that this happened. This went on and on. After the first 3 months, there were 2 that disappeared. He goes, another couple months go by, nothing. And then another animal disappears. It was a calf. And then he said, finally, I'm going to stake it out. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to stake it out. He goes, I work all day and I'm exhausted, but I figured I better do something. This thing is whatever it is. So he's sitting out there in his truck. First couple nights, he hears this ungodly roaring howl noise that he could not explain what it was. It was just like a roaring howl. I don't. And he said that he was sitting there watching the fence line, and he said he thought he saw movement. And then he said that this, whatever it was, it moved really quick, boom, and he said it was already like on another part of the pasture. And he was sitting there looking at it, and he says, dude, did that thing just teleport? It looked almost like it teleported, like it was just boom, 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 And he said that this thing, next thing you know, he didn't see how, but it was on the inside of the fence, and it was walking towards his truck. So he said, he goes, when it got about 30, 40 yards, he goes, I don't have real good eyes. He's 67 years old. He said, I was sitting there looking at it. And he said, as it got closer to my truck, he says, I'm looking at this beast, a man-beast creature. I don't know what this is. He said that the head had a muzzle, but not a full muzzle. It's hard to explain the way he told me. He said it was hard to explain. He said it was like a short muzzle, not like a wolf, not pointed like a wolf. And the ears, he said they stood up, but they kind of rounded down. But he goes, but it was very much canine-like. It had an upper body like a man. He said that the parts of the arms and chest had no hair. Like you could see it, and it looked almost like somebody wearing a fur coat. But he said that it just looked so weird because the chest was covered in hair that kind of spread out over the shoulders, but not evenly. And then he said the legs were like the legs of a dog, like a wolf's legs. And he goes, I'm sitting there staring at this creature, and he goes, and I'm in absolute disbelief. He said I had a 30-30 on me. He said, and I had a 30-06. I had all this. I had 3 or 4 rifles. I had a couple shotguns. He goes, I was ready. He goes, I had a 357 at a 45. He goes, I was too scared to lift any of them and pointed at this thing. And he said that this thing just went right over to toward his cattle, and his cows had run, and they were all bunched into one corner. And he said, oh, heck no, I got to do something. I can't let this thing attack my cows. And he said that he drove up next to it, and it got down on all fours, completely ignored him, and just ran right over to one of the cows. When they began to scatter in different directions, and it just grabbed one of the calves, like it just leaned out, like with its front would have been his paw, he said, but it was like a hand, tripped one of the cows, and it rolled and it landed on a calf. And it jumped right on top of the cow and just started chewing from the gut. He said he just goes, I just was in disbelief. He goes, and I'm thinking, I got to shoot this thing, but I'm terrified. So he says, I got to do something. So he said this thing began to chew from the inside, from the gut of the cow. It just began to eat it. I mean, he goes, I'm talking huge bites. The mouth was opening up unnaturally, like it was unnaturally long. Like it just didn't make any sense. Now, I don't know. Do we have the Gugwe?
Alec.
Okay. The Gugwe thing. Did you get that? The animation?
No.
Okay.
Next time.
All right. Well, there's not going to be another next time, but let me message this person real quick, and I'll be right. Hold on one second, folks.
What about a short-faced bear?
Yeah, somebody said that. I don't know. So I don't know what this thing was. I just know what they said it looked like, and it was a horrific thing. And then he witnessed this thing eating this cow, and he said it was like in 2 bites, the entire inside of it, the underbelly, the guts, everything was gone. He goes, and then it just started eating like just bite after bite, mouthfuls of the ribs, the flank, everything, just chewing. And he said the bones were crunching and snapping, and he could hear it like it was, if you were just, breaking something like if you snapping your fingers over and over again very loudly.
Yeah.
Like it was, I've heard this expression before, and I said this. I don't want to say that he said it, but I said, did it sound like it was chewing on corn nuts? Because I've heard that before.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, that's a good analogy, because it was like corn nuts. It was just crunch, crunch, crunch. And it began to sit there and just take little breaks, and they just continue to eat it. He goes, and then when it got up to where the head, the neck, and all that, he said it ate the bottom part of the head, and it just started. I mean, it was like it was devouring every piece of this cow. And he goes, I just stood there stunned. I didn't know what to do. He goes, but he goes, I had to do something. So I got out. He goes, and after it was already like I'd been sitting there, for about 5 solid minutes, just scared. He goes, it's like I couldn't look away, And he said this happened back in 1999. Now cameras weren't like, we didn't have cell phones, and all that. And he wasn't out there with a camera trying to take a picture of this thing. And he said, dude, I debated going back to the house and grabbing my wife's camera and coming back. He goes, but I thought it would be gone by then. And he didn't know what to do. So he got out and he just leveled his rifle at it. And he said he shot it. And then he shot it again and again. And it didn't do anything but kind of shrug it off and twitch and just continue doing what it was doing. So he thought, oh, hell no. So he got in his truck
And left.
and he just drove off. And he said, man, I can't protect my cattle.
Yeah, that'd be it for me,
There's
Chief.
nothing I can do.
Let him
But the
take that
story, it doesn't end there, folks. It goes on. Now, let me tell you what happened. He goes back out there the next day, and all there is blood. Big spot of blood. This thing ate his cow right in front of him. And he said he went out there to try to be a little stealthy, so he took his horse. And he said, on hindsight, he goes, I never should have did that. And I was like, yeah, I would have drove my truck back
Yeah,
out there. But because he thought maybe if he rode out there and didn't make a lot of noise, maybe it would come out. Because he had another idea of how to get rid of this thing.
Throw grenades at it.
Dynamite.
Well, something along those lines, yeah. Actually, because I had a couple
what I would
things
do.
that I was going to try, you know, to blow it up.
Right.
We're Americans, so when guns don't work, explosives will.
Absolutely. So he said he got in touch with a couple of his neighbors, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll help you." So they gave him what he needed. So he went out there and he planted this stuff. So when it steps on it, boom. Because he figures, I'm not going to let this thing go, just killing my animals. No way I'm going to let this slide. And by this point, he had lost a dog and 2 cats, and he was assured this thing had ate him because he saw there's like no trace of it.
Yeah.
And the only thing he would ever find out in the pasture is some blood. And he said that the other times when it happened, it was very little. It was almost like it ate the blood too, like it licked the blood. It was like it cleaned its plate. And I said, what did this? I said, if you had to tell me this, Clark, we'll call him Carl. I said, Carl, if you had to tell me this, what did it look like more to you? Did it look more like a bear or like a wolf? Or was it more man-like? He said it was like all three. And he said that, so I explained to him what a gugwe was. I said, now there's a thing we call in this community a gugwe. It looks like a short-faced Bigfoot mixed with the Dogman. And he was like, well, he didn't really understand Dogman. He knew werewolf. He said, well, look, what is a Dogman exactly? Of course, this is another person that was given to me as a witness, as a colleague of mine. Said, you got to check out this guy's story. This guy never watched my show in his life. He don't know anything about it. And I said, a Dogman is like a werewolf-looking creature. He said, well, that's what it looked like. He said, if you took a werewolf and put like a more of a bear face on it, and he goes, but if I had to say, he goes, I would call it a werebear. Like a bear man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I go to look where this guy lives, right? And I started I went back to where Wyoming is, Yellowstone, and going up into Montana, and then there's this clear shot. And I thought, there is a rash of sightings. And Josh Nanokio, one of my colleagues, told me some stories about these creatures in Yellowstone called these bear men. And I thought, that is really weird. So the only thing that was more wolf-like to this guy, I guess, would have been the backward bent legs. They didn't have a lot of fur on them. They looked more streamlined like a werewolf. So I'm thinking, like, what if this thing, and it doesn't have to be something that was manufactured by mankind. It could, because I talk about the inner earth. What if this thing, and this is a crazy theory, I'm just going to throw it out there, and I don't care. I mean, it's what it is. What if it's like something that came from the inner earth, but it was like something that was not natural even to the inner earth? Does that make sense? Because I got this weird feeling about it. Like that it's not even something that's naturally occurring. Like something...
The way it eats is just not natural.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're like that and you're a part of a population, you're going to eat up everything really quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say, you would have to live in a very scarce
like an
environment.
insecticon or something.
Where
from the Transformers.
every piece of a meal is important because there's nothing, you don't get to eat a lot. So then if one of those things escaped and had like free reign to eat whatever it wants, it would definitely do something like that to where it just devours everything. But even then, it sounds so bizarre to think about. This huge bear dude.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, your thoughts are that it was bear-like?
Well, from what they're saying, it was bear-like. The werebear sounds, like a plausible theory. I mean, that's hard to say. If I don't know, I have heard of other weres, right? The werecats and things like that. So to suggest a werebear doesn't seem that too far-reaching.
Doesn't sound implausible.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you think about it too, like there's a werebear and then there is a werewolf. Like, I mean, why wouldn't? And you hear about not deer.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's all types of different animorphs, but where do you think that they come from?
Well,
I mean, Yellowstone
what's your
has all
best-
these stories of
It's
these
hard to
things. Maybe
say.
this one was one of them, and it just got up there. Now here's where we'll continue with the story. I'll tell you what happened. Carl told me that wasn't the end. That wasn't the only incident of him seeing this creature either. And like I said, this is
he still has more sheep, and I mean, he has more cattle out there.
yeah. And so he had a couple friends, neighbors.
Well, you didn't finish up with the explosive.
Yeah, I'm getting to that.
Okay, that's
so
what
he
I
had
was
some
thinking.
friends come, and they sat in with him, and they all positioned their vehicles in different places. And he said that he couldn't take a horse out there because it would get real nervy and it would start jumping around, and the cows would stay as close to the house as possible. Which was about 150 yards from the house, the closest part of the whatever. And he said that they would just sit right there, just bunched up, and they'd moo all night like they were terrified. So he goes out there, and they're all sitting there in their vehicles in different spots. This thing comes out. He was almost like 100% sure that this thing stepped on what should have blown it to smithereens. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. He was like, I was so disappointed. He said, so his buddy, Jake, says he is not a no-nonsense guy, Vietnam veteran, did not care. He got out and just started opening up on this thing with an assault rifle. And he said that you could see it like boom, 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 boom. I mean, he was nailing it, and all it was doing was this. And then it just kind of turned around and just went back over the fence and was gone.
Did he grab the cattle?
No.
Well, at least they prevented it.
So he said that was the only time, the only other time that he saw it. He himself. Now, he began talking to his neighbors about it. One of his neighbors had said that he had a friend that lived on the Wind River Reservation down in Wyoming, and that this was a creature that they had encountered before. And what his friend told him was that this is what he said. He said it was point blank. Now, I talked to my cousin Trey. Trey, we're going to talk about a bunch of different weird stuff when he comes back on the show because Trey lived on the Wind River Reservation. But so this guy said that he went down there and he talked to this guy, and he said he's half Native American, he's half Shoshone, and he said, dude, he said he goes, that is a medicine man that's shapeshifted. He can't change back. He's stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that werebear, werewolf, those are very common, and then deer, And he said that sometimes you'll find bears that just go and they do crazy things and whatever. And then he goes, you'll look and you'll see the skinwalker underneath the skin. You can see it. Like when it's running away, you'll see, especially from behind. He goes, you can see their legs, but they're taking up the body of this bear. They're the size of a bear. I mean, these things are elongating their limbs and they look freaky and weird,
Yeah, with a human mannerism.
It's like a skinwalker type thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's obviously whatever shapeshifter that is, And then my theory, I told him, I said it could have been something from the inner earth. It could have been something that was being experimented on that we don't know, because there were reports of them in Yellowstone, especially going back into the 90s. I found a couple other cases of them, whatever.
Have you taken a stance
But have
on
you ever-
physical or like ethereal?
He has.
As far
I
as-
have, absolutely, because I think that they can be metaphysical.
Okay, so you do believe they can be both.
Well, here's the thing. Think of this. What if a lot of these reports we get of werewolves and dogmen are actually these gugwe or werebear type creatures? I mean, what if this guy with the Native American guy? What if he's right? What if this is like a shaman that shapeshifted and was like, oh crap, I'm stuck?
Well, that's always the problem. Is like it's hard to find origin when we have no knowledge of anything. So when you hear, we could throw out theories about like where it could come from, where it's either the medicine man, or it's a cave bear, or it's a short-faced bear, or it came from the inner earth, or it's just another natural werebear that they're like a thing that just is out there. It's like it's so hard to pinpoint an exact origin for them because we have so little knowledge about any of it.
It could be anywhere. It could be anything at all. It could be all of the above. We have no idea.
Yeah, and it could be like that there are things that come from a different dimension that are werebears, but then we also have our own werebears that come from this dimension that like live in caves and stuff.
It's got to be an energy that just kind of.
It's like it's so hard to pinpoint.
It like manifests itself because like even back in like old Viking lore, like the berserkers used to like.
Yeah.
wear bear pelts
They
on
would
them
they
or
would tap into something.
they
And
would-
if you
Yeah.
watch Northmen, It just shows them like
Phenomenal movie.
going crazy
Yeah.
before they go and attack. They're obviously on something because afterwards they're all,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
So they drank some kind of magic mushroom and like, and they went
They had
crazy.
a crazy
you know?
party beforehand.
Yeah, and then they just damn near have a stroke, killing people, whatever. But you know, that's the Vikings for you.
Mushrooms, baby.
Yeah. So what happens is, and I'm not condoning the use of any sort of psychedelics. Anyways, so what happens is you get these reports, and I asked him, I said, now I explained it to him with Gugway. He said, this thing didn't look Bigfoot-like at all. He goes, I've been, described Bigfoot to me. He said, my neighbors had a couple Bigfoot-type creatures on their property, and they witnessed one of them actually taking one of their sheep. So he said, these things, they'll kill and eat your animals for sure. He goes, but this thing didn't look like a Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever. He described it as a bear-type creature, And then, but I did have a story that I thought up in Oklahoma that was sort of Gugwee-like, and that's for another time. But it's not a real terrifying story. People saw it on the side of the road, drove real fast. But it was so weird. It was like the way they described it sounded bear-like. But it could have been like if you mixed a bear with a Bigfoot, which would be a horrifying thing.
That's
Yeah,
terrifying.
It'd be terrifying. But I mean, that's what it was because the legs were straight and everything, And but anyway, I just that story is. But here's what happened. So he's outside one night and his wife screams, like just screaming at the top of her lungs. And he said, "Believe me," he goes, "My wife had some lungs. She's passed on, but this. He said, I walk outside, dude, and he goes, our dog, this thing, whatever it was, one of these things, he thinks it might have been more than one, was walking off with our dog, one of our dogs. He said, we had a big white German Shepherd named Toto.
Nice.
So Toto was like the absolute opposite of what Toto really was, just a little yappy dog, kind of like, Banjo. Look at Banjo, he's asleep. Look at him. Check him out.
That's what I was talking about. He sleeps with his head on the desk.
Look at
He's
look at his
just
little.
chilling. He's part of the podcast.
Like he's just sitting there sleeping. Like look, he has no idea of the horrors we're discussing here. But yeah, so it was crazy. He said that he came outside, and she was screaming, and this thing was walking off, and she's like, "It's got our dog. It's got our dog." And what he said, this thing was walking off with the dog. But here's the crazy thing: she could see this creature perfectly clear, whatever. And remember, he only saw it twice. When he looked at this thing, he goes, all I saw was like a blurry thing with my dog wrapped around my dog. And he said it just looked almost like a ball rolling to him. So how do you explain that? What in the heck is going on with that? And he said that
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say that's different from the first one that just ate it, no matter like it didn't care about who saw it, what saw it, if there was you fired at it. This one took it away. It seemed. So is it a different one?
Well, no, here's what happened. The reason I think it's the same creature is because his wife, when she described to him what she was seeing, what she saw, it was the absolute same thing that him and his buddies saw.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same creature. It has to be, or a creature like that, but it was cloaking in some way.
Right.
And so he said, he always had his firearm on him. He said he pulled it out and he began to shoot. And he just says, I shot toward the body of what looked the blur, what looked like the blur. And he said, I can't see it. I'm not able to see it. And she's like, well, give me the gun. And he said, dude, I saw the craziest and the bravest thing I've ever seen in my life. He goes, my wife charged at this thing and was just firing rounds into it. And I mean, he said it was a big gun that she was using. And he said she was just going crazy.
She loves those dogs.
And then he said that it dropped the dog and then it just took off on all fours. And to her, it was running on all fours. But to him, it just looked like a blur rolling away. And then there was only one other incident that happened. He saw a green orb that floated through his barn, started one side and flowed out the other. And he was looking out the kitchen window or the picture bay window, whatever. Said that it just flew by the ranch house and was gone. And he said it was a big orb. He said after he saw that orb, the predation stopped and there was nothing happened ever again. He said it was 2 days before Y2K, before the
Okay.
Y2K, He said, yeah, it was 2 days before that. He said, when I saw the green orb, I said,
Nature
how big
police.
was it? He said it was bigger than a basketball.
Oh, it's green.
It's green.
And it was that big, huh?
It's a nature
I've only heard
police
of the
that came by.
smaller
The nature police came by today.
Hey, man, you can't be eating
Yeah,
whole
you
whole
stop
cows like
eating
this.
Stuff like that. You and your foot big and the moth guy. You better chill out there, buddy.
Thank you, Amy, for the $10 donation.
Thank you for that donation. Greatly appreciated. But that's that story. You guys tell me what you think of that. I mean, what do you think was going on with that? Leave me your comments. Tell me your comments. Somebody said I had green mist. Is that a Gatorade flavor or what happened there, Worldwide Ghost? Tell me
Is that a
what's
bad
going on.
stomach thing?
Come on, Ghost. Tell me what happened. Give me some more information here.
Didn't you
Just
have
sub
a
to
ghost
fellas.
that
Thank
showed
you
up?
for that. Thank you for subbing to us.
We have 525 people. Please like and subscribe. Thank
Yeah,
you
please
for
like and
everybody for
subscribe.
joining us for tonight. I was gonna say though, didn't you have a ghost appear in a green mist once? That was like half his body was gone.
Do what?
A ghost that appeared in a green mist. That like half his body was gone.
That's been like a theme. Me and Linda Godfrey talked about that, didn't we? I think you were.
I think that's why I
we
was
interviewed
remembered
because she
it.
was talking about there was a story in one of her books about a green mist involved in a werewolf transformation. There's one that I'm going to talk about in my book that I'm putting in my book. It's about a werewolf transformation. Which, I mean, it was clear as day. 2 people witnessed it, and it was given to me and your dad saying, we both talked to the guys, and they were walking, and it was clearly that it was a werewolf transformation. And that's going to be in my book, folks. And now, that brings us to where we're at now. We have a cloaked creature. It's a very weird story. We have a werewolf. We have a skinwalker, a Bigfoot, and another ghost story. What do you guys want? What do you guys want? Let me know. We got another, it's like ghost, skinwalker, Bigfoot.
I wonder if I just put you up here while you sleep.
What do you guys want? Let me know. I'm trying to look and see what people. Silver Foxtrot says the dog man that the guy filmed running in his backyard, it looked like a ghost to me. Danos asks any info on the pale crawlers. We always got information on those. We get lots of stories from those. I'm about to do another episode on that. But like I said, I won't be dropping it for a long time because
After another story is
Getting lots of
normally,
skinwalkers, I think.
I think so,
People
me
want the
too.
skinwalker.
But
Skinwalker,
Creepy
couple
stem
ghosts.
cell.
I see a lot of ghost stories.
Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, Skinwalker. It looks like Ghost Skinwalker, so we can flip a coin. I don't know. What do you think, Skinwalker? We flip a coin.
We'll flip Banjo. What he lands on.
Skinwalker.
Banjo looks like he's
probably
about
the most.
Look at Banjo. He's a black-eyed dog. Look at that. His whole eyes are just black. Look at that. Look at his black, weird eyes. He's a black-eyed dog. Oh, now you can see some white in his eyes.
Making fun of you?
Yeah, I'm making fun of you, Banjo. It's okay, buddy. So here's what I'm going to tell you. We just did one, and it involved the cloak creature. So we'll do the cloak creature one later. But let's vote. Let's take a werewolf. The Bigfoot is a pretty scary one too. And then we got the werewolf, and then we got the skinwalker. Let's choose between those 3. The ghost of Skinwalker. Actually, that's a vampire, from what I've been told. Skinwalker. Okay, we're going to go with Skinwalker, guys. All right. Now, this one happened, of course, on the somebody that was driving through the Navajo reservation. And I believe that they were on the Utah side, like they were going from Utah into New Mexico, whatever. And this person is a Ute. Now, why that is important is because the Utes were the ones that were supposedly cursed by the Skinwalker, by the Navajo. They cursed them. The Navajo said, hey, you're going to suffer the curse of the Skinwalker. So I talked to this guy,
What a nice gift.
and he says, he's like, dude, I don't have any sort of superstition. I've made this trip before. I was driving into New Mexico, driving a truck, a big truck. And he said, I didn't care. I never thought twice of it. He goes, but my grandmother told me one time, she's like, when you go through that area, she's like, be careful. Because that is where our enemies, we're not at war with them now. We don't fight with them. There's no conflict, but
But
there's still a curse there.
bad blood.
There's bad blood. And he said, if you ever get broken down, she's like, don't stop. Like, don't get out of your vehicle. If you have to stop, but don't stop if you don't have to. She's like, drive as far as you can. Get through the reservation. Don't stop. And she made it sound like that if he was, to stop or something, like something was going to kill and eat him. And he said, he goes, so I'm driving along. I stop at this truck stop, this gas station where I'd always stop, whatever. And he goes, and I see this weird guy. And when he goes, I noticed it had something to do with him. He said when he was at the counter, his hands were shaking. He was getting change out. He was buying some cigarettes. I said, and he turned and he looked at him sideways. And he said the guy was missing his left eye. And he goes, he turned and he looked at me to the left. And I was standing, to his left, and he goes, and he's like, he looked at me. He didn't have an eye. I said, well, how did you know? Was just a blank hole there? He goes, no, it was a glass eye. You could tell. And he said, and I don't even know why he turned his head because he couldn't see with that eye. And he said the guy told him, just hold your horses. And he's like, this guy turned his head just enough to look at me through his left eye, but he had a fake eye. It's like amazing that he even knew I was standing there. And he said, dude, it freaked me out. He goes, I don't know. It just gave me the chills. It freaked me out. And then he said the guy sat there counting out his change. And he goes, dude, I'm looking at my watch and I'm getting impatient. And he said, you know what, dude? I'll pay for your soda and your cigarettes. Just, it's cool. And he says, I don't need anything from you. He goes, I don't need anything from you or your people. And he goes, okay, that's pretty weird. The guy's like, and then the guy, when he turns after he finishes counting out his change and buying his stuff, he turns and he looks at him and he goes, you know who you are. And he goes, I said something kind of smart mouth. Thank you for that donation, Orlando Herrera. I said, well, I know who I am, and hopefully you know who you are. The clerk knows who he is. We all know who we are. And I'm right now, I'm an aggravated truck driver. Can I get by you? And then he says, keep it up. Keep it up. He said he was an old guy with long hair, nasty looking teeth. He said he looked terrible, looked like a meth head. And as he's walking out, he turns and he pushes the door with his back, and he goes, I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon. And then he looks at him and he goes, hopefully not. And he just continues to do what he's doing. And he goes, I got really smart mouth with the guy. He goes, I know it was a mistake. I probably shouldn't have. He's like, but I just couldn't help it. The guy was being rude. And I told him I would have probably been the same way, except I would have went out and probably slapped him so hard and took his glass eye and put it in my pocket. That's just me. And that's not an eventful night. That's just a Wednesday, whatever. I'm joking, folks. I would never. This creepy guy with one eye, I'm just going to turn and act like I don't see this dude and just be like this and be like paying for my stuff because I don't want to look at this guy. Okay? Because who knows what kind of he's putting on me and freaking who knows. So the guy says, I'll see you soon, right? And then he's like, he turns and looks at the clerk, and the clerk just kind of shrugs his shoulders, and then he says, the old guy comes in here like once a night. It's always rude to people. He's just weird. He's just a weird guy. Who cares? Whatever.
Go to bed, old man.
Yeah, that's what he said. Go back to bed, old man. So here's what happened. That was his trip, right? He went through there. On the way back, he stops at that same gas station. He goes inside, and he had a little conversation with the dude. He said that this was a swing shift person that was kind of busy, and he said there was a guy and a girl both working. And he said, what happened to the guy that was here? The other guy, he was pretty cool, man. He goes, oh, well, he usually works nights. He's like, but he hasn't been in for like 3 or 4 days. And nobody can get a hold of him. He's missing, like it's weird. He goes, his parents, his family, whatever, they're looking for him. They don't know what happened to him. Like he just quit coming to work, And he said, man, that's weird. That's a weird thing, so he said it troubled him, he thought, wow. And he said immediately he thought of that old man. So he goes out there and he gets back in his truck, and when he's getting ready to drive off, he's pulling out, and right when he gets to where he's about to, there's like some gravel, and he's about to go up the hill and get it. He said, there's the old man right there. He pops out and he looks right at him. And he said, this crazy old bastard, what he said, he goes, the old man was like, kind of laughing, and he's just like going like this to him. And so he's like, does something inappropriate. He gives him a certain finger, and he says the F word to him, "You old man, get out of here." And he honks his horn, real loud. And the old guy just goes, whatever, and he keeps walking. And he says, he pulls out, he goes, dude, screw that old dude. Forget this guy. He's driving down the highway, dude. He said, I get about 10 miles down the road, and I see this gray flash run out in front of my rig. And he goes, I'm like, what the heck was that? And he's like, just plays, he just plays it off to himself like, oh, you know what? That's just a coyote that ran across the road, because that's kind of what it looked like. He said, then he's driving along. He goes, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. I hear a knocking on the glass. A knocking. And he's like, I look to my right, and there is this thing hanging off of, like it's holding on to the side of the truck, holding on. He's like, it's got a grip on like where the mirror's at, whatever, and it's like looking at him. And he said it looked like a scraggly old gray coyote on 2 legs. That's the only way he could describe it. And he said, dude, it was absolutely terrifying. And this thing was, he's like literally with one hand, he said hand, it wasn't a paw, was knocking on his glass of his truck over the driver's, oh my gosh, it's freaking me out. When he told me the story, I'm like sitting there listening, and I'm going like, wow, this is really creepy. And here, I'll tell you why. You guys know where I go when I sit, when I talk to people under the tree?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was sitting there in my little spot, listening to the story, and we had that storm a few months ago, and the little tree branches, and they fall on the top of my truck and go down the window, and it goes, and I'm like, oh my God. And the guy was like sitting there, telling me the story, and I freak out. He's like, dude, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Nothing. I want nothing. I'm good. I'm like, how are you? So the guy was just like, oh, okay. He goes, well, I'm telling this, my heart's beating fast. I'm saying, mine too. A small tree branch just fell, creating a weird effect that scared me somewhat.
Was it glinting in the moonlight?
Although I jumped to the point where I almost hit my head on the top of the truck. What was that?
Was it glinting in the moonlight?
And the glinting in the moonlight, dude. Everybody that's a PRT person should know where that's from. That's Scorpion. Scorpion's probably in the chat mad now we said that. But, dude, I freaked out, man. I mean, it scared me. It scared me. And there's people around. And there was a lady
How late was
walking
it?
her dog. It was about 1 a.m, but there was a lady walking her dog, and she was like, she heard me yell, and I'm like, Skinwalker story. It's cool. Proceed. She's like looking around, like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, yes, of course.
I'm like, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good in the hood. It terrified me. He said, I look at this thing, and it's a gray, wolf-like, coyote-like creature, and he says, dude, I looked at it, and it was knocking on the glass of my truck. And he goes, and I couldn't veer off or do anything. He goes, I almost lost control, and I kept going. And then he said this thing began to just scratch on the glass, like scratching and scratching. And then he said he looks over, and he said if you could imagine a canine distorting its mouth to grin at you, that's what he saw. And he said it was like a cackle, like a witch. And then he said when he looked over, he said this thing turned and it stuck its face right up to the glass, and there was no eye in the left socket. It was just a hollow blank right there. And I kid you not, this guy was absolutely terrified when he's telling me his story. And then I'm like looking around for any old homeless person that's gonna come. So I'm like.
Any transients?
Oh no, we do security too.
And I'm over there
Yeah,
like
exactly.
like I got the speed loaders ready. I got the semi-auto. I got the one that the old reliable. The revolver doesn't jam. I'm ready to go. I'm like I'm Yosemite Sam over there. And I said, dude, why did you tell me this terrifying thing tonight? You could have waited and told me in the daytime. But it was just, he said, dude, it was so freaking weird. And then he said it just like jumped off of his truck, and then he said he could see it in the mirror, and it just stood there in the road. And he says, dude, he goes, I got back to home base, and I told him I quit, or you put me on another route. So they put him on another route, and he's like, I'm never making that drive again. And he just, he's like, I quit working there. It was done or whatever. I don't know the name of the highway. I have it in my, like I said, I don't have my notes, unfortunately, but but anyway, that was a terrifying story.
That is terrifying, but as Bill quite rightly said, IRS agents scare me more.
I think that scares everybody, but I mean, it's what could possibly be worse than some crazy guy, And then he said, "Dude, I told him though. I said in the end, I thought he was going to say it got in the cab with him or something. And I was already, And he said no. It was just like putting me on notice.
Let's put a prank on you."
I don't think it was a prank. I think it was the guy.
I think he literally said, "I got my eye on you," and this
He sprinted 10 miles to jump on his truck and deliver the worst pun ever.
Exactly. Let me ask you guys in the studio here. We'll start with you, Zane. Like, what would you do if you were driving along and this happened? I mean, like, how would you react? I mean, in all seriousness, all jokes aside, how would you react?
How would I really react?
Really react.
If I saw that on the side of my truck as I'm driving down the highway, I would probably get very, very close to the right side and try to hit it with like a sign pole or something so that it would fly off.
really knock it off.
I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, I'd flick it off as
well,
I'm doing so.
Move that drink where rust or that gets the moisture gets everywhere. The gross smoothie that they made. That's terrible.
slowly turn brown.
Here, hand it to Zane. Zane, hand it to Alec, and Alec, you can hand it to Anthony, and Anthony can throw it away or
Just pour it in the toilet.
whatever you do. Don't drink it.
Just pour it in the toilet.
You were gonna drink it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But yeah, it's really a crazy thing. I don't know what I would do. I can. So what would you do, Tony? I mean, Zane said what he would do.
Well, the best solution would
No
be
jokes.
have a gun with you, so you could maybe defend yourself in that situation. If you don't have a gun with you, your best option is just you could try something crazy like that, where to knock it off, but that is very likely to go very wrong, and you could hurt yourself.
Now, what if
badly.
now if he tried to roll down the window to shoot at it because he had a gun.
Don't roll down the window.
Don't
He
roll
had a
down the
gun, so
window.
he told me, he's like, I didn't roll the window down.
Yeah. You don't roll down the window. You shoot through the window.
Yeah.
No, that's
So he said,
Especially
dude,
when he
can,
started putting his face up like that, then you just pull it real
what
quick.
if you shoot through the window and it doesn't, and then you just let it in?
I guess that's it.
well, you would have
Guess we're
shocked it
dying
enough.
together.
It's or it's just gonna kill and eat you because if it is a skinwalker, the gun's not gonna help you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
from what I understand, I mean, and I don't, he was convinced that it was. And now somebody asked a very pertinent question. Sailor Nemesis says, "Why am I sitting outside right now?" I don't know. I wouldn't be listening to this show. Some of my guards are like, "Oh, you're going to do your show tonight?" And I told them, I said, "It's going to be scary. So if you're on some of these sites where you're out in the middle of somewhere, don't listen." And I'm not joking. I put a disclaimer to my guards tonight. I said, "Hey, there's a good 15 of them." I said, "Hey, don't listen if you're going to be scared out there because this is we're going to be talking about this is the Halloween. Okay, this is what we do." And so I have a question for the audience. Anybody who's willing to talk and wants to, what do you think? What would you do if you were in that situation? Can I get Anthony, can I get a notebook and a pen? Because we're going to do some giveaways now. And so right now, I want whoever's in the audience, I'm going to pick two people to get some swag, and it could be anything. We don't know. We're going to give you autographed books, that's for sure, but we might give you something else. You might get a hoodie. Depending on supplies, we'll give you a hoodie or a shirt, depending on what we got.
Swag.
So we're going to pick two people. By the time this is done, we will have picked a half a dozen people to win prizes. Okay? So give me your what you would have done best. Oh, here, and we'll pick. We'll let
pee my
Tony pick
pants.
one, and then we'll have Zane pick one. And then you guys have to get in touch with me through my email or through Messenger to give me your information so that I can send your swag out to you. We're doing a giveaway. 6 things.
That makes sense. Darkseid said he would use his laser beams.
Okay, well, Darkseid's incorrect because he doesn't have a laser, and the only lasers we have are in colleges. So I don't think you could do that dark side. Now, if I had laser beams, I would use laser beams, and I would use sharks with laser beams.
Dolphins with laser beams are better. They're smarter.
Exactly. There you go.
Gary
Sharks will
Rhodes
turn on.
or Harry Rhodes said roll a d20. I appreciate it.
Okay, that's not going to happen.
Blow that window out.
Did you know, random fun fact, that dolphins can recognize themselves in the mirror?
Yeah, they're very egotistical.
See, now, Amy said, drive like a crazy maniac and wiggle the wheel and try to shake it off. You don't want to wiggle a wheel on an 18-wheeler because
Yeah.
that could really be
Yeah.
a problem, man.
You're really diverting a lot of weight.
Yeah.
You can't really slam the brakes either,
Yeah.
Joseph.
That's why I said, I mean, really all you can
Yeah,
do is
Joseph
just
said
edge
you
up to
slam
the
the
edge or
brakes.
something.
That's not going to work either. Give him 350. Jordan Cogburn. Okay, Jordan.
I like that.
Jordan, you win. Yeah, I'm picking Jordan right now for one of those. Jordan said, you know what I did with that damn skinwalker when he got on my truck? He got up there and he said, hey, you remember me? I was in the store buying some cigarettes and just chilling out with my Dr. Pepper. And I said, I need 350. I said, oh, damn Loch Ness Monster already took my 350. I can't give you 352, Skinwalker. What am I going to do in the Bigfoot ass? I'm going to give all the Kryptons, all of them, 350? I don't think so.
Give it to him in crypto.
I gave him $1. What? Why you going to go give him $1? Now they going to keep coming around. 350. Inflation. I tell you what. So Jordan. Somebody said hand over the jack links. This isn't supposed to be a funny thing, but this show gets funny. Let's throw some humor in there because you don't want people sitting out there on post scared
Throw 'em a
and
sandwich.
leaving my job sites. Okay,
I like that. Throw him a sandwich.
throw them a sandwich.
You know, because in this case, the only really good thing you can do is barter. You know, maybe he's hungry. I'm sure that 10-mile run
he's hungry
across
for
the
you.
highway as he jumped onto the truck was probably exhausting.
He's hungry for
A
you.
nice gas station sandwich that you probably picked up 20 minutes ago before you left would probably do him some great.
I would
good.
just save the world personally and drive that 18-wheeler.
So what do you
into
guys
the
think?
site.
We got a bunch of different ones here. Go ahead and pick one. Tony, you start. You pick one.
I liked quite a couple of
Somebody
these.
says go over speed bumps and then a drive-through car wash. If you get stuck in the car wash with that thing, I think you're going to be in some trouble.
I think someone said something along the lines of tell it a sweet line of why did the wolf cross the road? He was chasing the chicken and then keep driving.
What? What in the heck?
That's what he does.
Sounds like something Paul Ford would say.
I'm just reading these comments.
Probably like, what are you talking about? A raccoon with a hot tin roof when you're smoking a doobie and you're rolling downhill? You know what I'm talking about, right? No, I do not. Somebody said, pray to wake up. That's a good one, too.
For real.
And then definitely, I'd be pleading the blood of Jesus. You're darn right on that one.
2 words: Tokyo Drift, tuck and roll.
So, pick one, Tony.
Okay, let me see.
Spooky Chick says, in case like that, all you can do is barter or pray. I don't know if you can barter. Maybe you could give it one of your eyes.
The sandwich, man. I'm telling
The
you.
eyes have it.
Or a cigarette, as Lori stated, I believe. He does like cigarettes.
Drop an anvil on them. That's what you need for a coyote, man. Where's the anvil when you need it?
I'll choose G. Harry Rhodes.
What's his comment?
Roll a d20. I like that one.
Roll a what?
D20 like a Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, a D20.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. So we got Jordan. Jordan, make sure you hit me up and give me your information. And
G. Harry and Rhodes like Rhode Island.
yeah, G. Harry Rhodes. Hit me up. You guys win some swag. If we got it, we'll give it to you. If we got a hat, we'll give you a hat. Or if we don't have a hoodie in your size, we'll give you a shirt. Or we'll just give if we don't have, or we'll give you a hat.
Give him that nasty smoothie.
Yeah, there you go. You win the smoothie there for the night. That was.
Throw a banjo at
They're
it.
playing games. I don't know why they're telling you they can't do that. The other one down the road does it all the time.
Yeah, that didn't seem right. I told them it didn't seem right when they said that they wanted to make it vanilla and then add pumpkin.
Orlando Herrera says, "Give him that nasty smoothie."
Yeah.
All right, so your turn, Zane. Pick somebody to win.
Let's see here.
hit it with the windshield washer fluid.
A tickle fight. That's what I'm going with. Dustin Lenzo. Give it a good old tickle fight.
Wow.
You ever had a tickle fight with a crypto?
No.
Krypton.
Krypton? Yeah.
He's
You
a
ever just
bad
roll
boy.
down the window as he jumped?
No,
out
I
the window
mean,
and
I've
was
never
like, "Hey,
actually
man, you
seen
wanna
it
have a tickle
personally, a
fight?"
crypto. So,
So what would he
Fair
call a skinwalker? A scan walker?
Scan
It was a scan walker.
Walker.
Hey, this one of them scan markers? Yeah, okay.
A skin runner, and he was a bad boy. Corn pop. All right, so what was the guy's name?
Hold on. Where is he at? He asked me after I scrolled all the way back down.
Jordan says you don't have Facebook. Well, hit me up on email. Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com. Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com.
I always hit it with the old Hank the Hill, some of that old pocket sand.
So whoever won, I don't remember the name. What was the guy's name?
Whoever dropped that tickle fight bomb, go ahead and
just send me your information.
Just comment again so that we can see.
Yeah, comment again so we can see.
It's way up the chat now. I don't know where it is. Hey, big man, let me hold $1.
Wink at him.
Who?
Wink at him.
Okay. So that was that story. Here we go. We're gonna do another one here.
There you
Dustin Lenzo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dustin.
That's what
Thank
it
you,
was.
He
Alex.
just commented.
Thank you.
Lin. Len.
Yeah.
Zio. Lenzo. Dustin Lenzo. There you go, Dustin.
Catch it with a Pokeball.
Catch me outside.
That would be dope.
Catch me outside, yo. With that skinwalker noise. You know what I'm saying?
Even if I die after, that would be a great irony. Just to roll down the window, throw a Pokeball at it. I don't care how it reacts. Okay, I got my joke in. Understand?
Tell it this is Sparta and hit it
the
with the
last thing
driver
you
door.
do, and then.
Absolutely.
But hey, we
But
told
what
the
a way to
joke.
go out.
Well, the way
I'm gonna be joking on my deathbed.
I'm
if
gonna
I
be
get a
laughing
chance,
as I
man.
die. Man, I'm not.
I've nearly died a couple times, and I was telling jokes. So it's all of it. You can't. You got to laugh at everything. You know, it's just.
You got to
Just
take the
me.
Viking approach to death.
That's right. So we got Cloak Creature chases boys. Then we got a ghost story that happened in Georgetown, here around Austin, Georgetown.
Fart my lungs out to assert dominance. It's certainly a way to do it.
My wife, if you're listening, I'm texting you because I got to ask you a question about one of the stories because I don't have all my
Fart,
notes.
roll down the window, and blame it on him.
What would you do, Alec, if that happened to you?
Speaking of one of the mics. Did you guys speak of the mic, Alec?
Well, it'd probably be like when you get in a fender bender or a close car accident and you have to flee the scene, and you're like driving away and you're like yelling at no one in particular, just yelling in your car.
Well, you can't
That's what
really
you
drive
would do,
away
just
if
drive
it's
away
part of the car now.
Well, I can tell you right now, I would not stop.
Yeah,
And I
obviously.
wouldn't shoot through the window either. I think I would just keep driving, and if it wants to hitch a ride all the way, as long as the door's locked.
Well, I don't know. A lot of people here are saying that you don't ride for free. That's the thing, is that we don't take free rides. That's the
ride
main
or
thing.
die.
They don't really care about the dogman coyote beast that's on the window. It's more about just no one rides for free.
You know, I'm just gonna turn on my Lady Gaga and just blast it. You know,
I don't know if I want.
he's old crotchety. He probably won't even want to listen to it.
We both would just
He'll
be
leave.
singing and stuff. Da, da, da. There you go.
I don't know if I want ass grass or cash from any of the cryptids. So
Well,
Yeah, I don't know what I would do. So we got to make a choice here, folks. What's the next story? Somebody said they want to hear the Bigfoot attack. We got a ghost story. We got the. Is it hot in here?
Yeah,
I'm like
I'm sweating.
sweating, dude. What in the heck is going on here? Somebody said any stories from Dallas. Yeah, I got some stories from that area. For sure. I got stories all over, dude. I got a million of them. I even got robot stories, dude. Weird robots. I got a weird one about a robot. It sounded like a robot.
We're gonna
I
have
don't
some
know.
crazy AI stories.
Whatever.
Eventually.
We're probably
next
gonna get
few
some.
years.
Yeah, it's gonna get weirder, folks.
It's gonna get real
It's
crazy.
gonna get weirder. When you can tell AI to paint you a picture, then Skynet is next. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Let's just get ready because
Skynet is here.
yeah, Skynet is gonna be yeah.
Self perception is already it's already happening.
My wife is giving me the information here. This is a story we went over because me and my wife went over our stories, you know, what we were going to pick on the list, and we started going over them, and we went over them over the course of the week, you know, just like, hey, what about this one? You know, this one's a good one. This one's pretty good. This one's scary, you know.
Right.
But Evan, thank you. He said I'm too damn hot. I know. That's why I sweat a lot. My pants fall down every time I bend over.
Thank you for the
feet itch.
$5, Esteban.
I need swag.
He said,
You don't want that.
Esteban Hernandez says, happy you were doing better, Wolf. Thank you for always making my nights brighter or darker. Laugh out loud. Yeah, depending on which way you look at it. So,
Seen a lot of spooky specter
what do you
stories.
guys want to do? We got the ghost. We got another creepy ghost story, but I think we should probably go to the, let's go to the Bigfoot. What do you guys think? I don't know. What do you guys, I mean, we got Bigfoot, werewolf, ghost story. The werewolf one's really good, but we just told the skinwalker one, so we can put like the Bigfoot one sandwiched in between, or I can tell you a ghost story.
A lot of people were requesting the ghost.
Yeah, they wanted the
Because
ghost last time.
Dog Man
It was Skinwalker and Ghost.
was a bad boy, and he ran around with a lot of bad dudes. It was foot big. Phantasmo. It's pretty scary.
Dustin wants to know how to find you on Facebook.
I'm under Josh Turner. I'm just there's a picture like me with like Thanos, and I'm going like this in the background, and then there's one with me and my wife, and I'm like, you know, it is what it is. See if you can find me.
Well,
The one where I'm standing in front of wallpaper that's got bananas or whatever. I don't use that account unless I have to. Like I get in trouble. He's getting in trouble with the Facebook police. Yeah. It is a sickness. We do not want.
Evan says Wolf has big feet, so they want some big feet.
Want some big feet or some ghosts?
So here it is. We'll go with the ghost story, and I hope I don't mess it up too bad, because like I said, this is all from memory, and but I know the gist of it, and I don't know the time frame because I don't have my notes, which really sucks. I had to rush to the studio today, folks, and work is killing me, dude. I'm telling you, I'm so sick of it, dude. But anyway, I had this story I got. This happened in Georgetown. Everybody that's here in the room knows where Georgetown's at. It's not far from here. That's like, what is it, like 15 miles north of Austin? Maybe 20? Is it 20?
It's not that far.
20 miles north of Austin. You go through Round Rock to get there. So it's probably about 20 miles north of Austin. If you're going by like the city limits or whatever. Anthony, can you grab me water, please, mijo? Appreciate it. And so I got this story from a guy who was just absolutely terrified of this house he'd moved into. And what was crazy about this house is that this is an old house in the middle of the historic part of Georgetown. And hey, do we have any of those the little fizzy water drinks? Did we bring those in, the tonic water? Well, they're down in the truck. Somebody could grab them.
Gravity will do it.
See you
So
later,
what happened
Gregory.
was, oddly enough, my dad used to date this crazy woman that had 2 kids, and one of them, the son was about my age, and his dad was like a newscaster or something. but it was down the road from that house. Because when he started describing to me the area where he lived at that time, and I thought, well, that house that they lived in was haunted. So I'm sure that whole freaking neighborhood is just old houses from the 1800s. You're going to have ghosts and stuff in there.
Yeah,
It's going to happen.
you'll be lucky if you only have ghosts.
Yeah. So it was a pretty scary story. So he's the first thing that happened when he moved in, the very first night he had a really creepy dream, which happened to me. The first night I moved into my place down in South Austin, I had this creepy dream, and it just precipitated a bunch of stuff that went on. Subsequently, a bunch of haunting happened. But this guy, he was laying in his bed the first night, and he woke up and he saw this woman with her mouth open, like, and just black holes for eyes. And then he woke up again. I don't know if anybody's ever had that happen where you wake up and you're not really awake. And then you wake up again and you're actually awake. I've had it happen once or twice in my life, and it was a freaky experience. But I knew it was dreaming, and I told myself, oh, this is so real. And I'm like, no, this is a dream. And then I figured it out. So here's what happened. He wakes up to this woman freaking out, screaming, but he doesn't hear any sound. And he starts telling me about this house. And then I started to remember, I said, dude, when we were kids, me and this kid that I was friends with, because his mom and my dad were going out, whatever, they were dating for about a year. We rode our bikes there one time by that house, and we saw the light go on and off. And when he started describing it, so I drove by this house, and I said, that's it. That is the house. And I said, dude, that house is terrifying. Okay, I said, I know exactly where you're at. I said, you need to leave now. And he goes, really? I said, no, I'm just kidding for dramatic effect. But no, I told him, I said, do you still live there? He says, yeah. He says he's out in the driveway talking to me. That's how scared he was. And he said that he was absolutely terrified to see this specter or whatever. He said, but I thought, it was a dream. It was a dream, And he said that he was walking by this big mirror that he had up in his guest bedroom, had a big mirror or whatever. He's walking by it, and he looks to his right, and he's like, every time I walk by that mirror, I think something's moving around in there. He says, I look to my right, and I see what it looks like an old woman staring at me through the mirror. He goes, I'm out in the hallway. He says, so I'm staring, and I blink my eyes, and I look, and I'm like, and I jump back. He goes, I fall against the wall, and there's nothing there. He's like, my mind's playing tricks on me. He's like, what in the heck is going on here? I just saw an old woman. He said, from that point on, are they warm or something? Oh, no, I don't want that. I just wanted them to put in the fridge. Like, geez, man, what the heck happened to common sense?
Go put that in the freezer.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I appreciate Alex. Call him Alex. And so I'm sitting there, and somebody said the address to the Dogman Church in Georgetown is not in Georgetown. I can tell you that right now. But it's out there, out in the country. But anyway, this house is in town, and so he said that he goes, I saw this, what I thought was a woman. He goes, and then there was another. He lived alone. He's another time. He said that his girlfriend had come over, and they were watching TV. And he goes, it was so funny because we were watching the Muppets, and it was like Christmas time, right? It was the Muppets, Christmas, whatever. And he said she paused the TV. She's like, I got to run to the bathroom. And the bathroom's like right there in the hallway, downstairs, whatever. And she pauses it. And he says, dude, I can hear someone behind me, like in the kitchen, like mouthing the words to the Muppet song that was just playing. And he goes, I thought for a minute there, I was like, the TV's paused.
Right.
And he could hear the song like playing, like it's being repeated, or like somebody. He said it was like somebody had recorded it and was replaying it. And he said it was going on in the kitchen. He says, I get up, and I'm freaking out. And he goes, and I walk toward the kitchen, and he goes, and I see standing there in the kitchen what looks like an old woman holding her chest and like falling over. And he's like, he said it was so real and vivid. He goes, for a split second, I thought that there was a person that had broken in, and she was holding a thing of milk. And he said she was dressed like the 1920s or something. And he said, dude, it was the weirdest thing that had happened up to that point. Well, it gets worse. And then he said, he goes, dude, this phenomenon went on and on. I kept having these weird things happen. He goes, but what really got me, what really terrified me, he goes, I was in my room one night and upstairs by myself, and I heard like banging on the floor. It's like a hardwood flooring. But he said it wasn't like, it was coming from the floor. He goes, but it wasn't like somebody was knocking. It wasn't the door. It wasn't the wall. He goes, it was the floor.
It was like someone was
And he
slamming
couldn't tell
around.
if somebody was banging from above, from below, or if they were banging their hand on it, you know. And he says, and I'm sitting there, and I'm wide awake. I wake up and I'm looking. He goes, and I had a bathroom that was you could go straight into it right there. The house, the way he described, now I could be wrong. But I remember him telling me it was partially renovated, like back in the '90s or something. But he said that this was like this was only a few years ago when this happened. And he said that he looked into the bathroom, and he goes, I can see a person moving around in there. They're in there moving around. He's like, and it looked like a woman in black, like just moving around. And he goes, dude, I was freaking terrified, dude. He goes, I could just see that. I could see them, like just like it was a woman, And he goes, and I had a light on in the hallway, so I could get up in the middle of the night, use the bathroom, whatever. He goes, so I started fumbling for the lamp. He goes, which is why I don't, depend on that. And so he reached over and he turned it on. And he says he looks, and it's a woman in black, standing there in the bathroom, and she's looking at. She's got her hands on her hips. She said she's like just taking me in, looking at me. And he goes, so I said, what do you want? And he said, right then, this thing ran at me like at full speed, just like its mouth was wide open.
Ooh, I just got goosebumps.
And like it just ran at me at full speed. He goes, and there was like when somebody dies, like they put a veil over their face. Mm-hmm. And she was just like, and he said, dude, she came right at me with her head forward and her arms back. And when she got right up to the bed, she moved her hands upward, like to attack me. And he goes, and I grabbed my blankets, and he goes, I box. I'm a fighter. He goes, I'm a tough guy. I think I'm a tough guy. And he says, dude, I was ready to put my hands up to defend myself, and then I just felt like this cold rush of wind. He goes, and then I go into the bathroom. He goes, because I'm like terrified. I jump up out of the bed, and I'm looking around, and then I go into the bathroom. He said, I had a baseball bat right there by the bed. I grabbed it. I didn't know what to do. And he goes, obviously this is, a ghost. How am I going to hit this, with a bat? I got a bat, He's like, I'm going to go into the bathroom, I go in the bathroom and I'm like scared. He goes, I'm terrified. So I close the door, and he goes, and I did what any grown man would do who's got some cojones. He's like, I called my girlfriend and I cried. And I was like, you weenie Hut Jr.
Any grown man would have turned on the shower
Gosh,
and
dude.
cried in the shower.
Soylent.
Yes. You Weenie Hut Jr. patron. No, I'm joking, okay? It's not he was really upset, right? He was really upset. So anyway, he said that he went to the bathroom, sitting there holding the bat, and he said he begins to hear rapid scratching on the door, like almost like a dog would be scratching on the door. And then, get this, it turns into growls. And it was like an animal at the door. And he was like, I'm not kidding. And so he said, dude, oh, that's so weird. Somebody just said Lord's Prayer. That's so weird. That is so weird. So he said that he's a Hispanic guy. He said he began to say the Lord's Prayer in Spanish. I was just about to say that. That is crazy. That's crazy. Who said that? Amy?
Yeah.
Huh, that's weird. But anyways, he goes, I started praying. I just didn't know what to do, and he said, and it just kept going on. Then it was growling, and it was like something sniffing at the floor. So then when his girlfriend gets there, she comes up, and so he jumps out of the room, and he's like scared, shaking with the bat, and he almost hits her. And she's just like, it's me, And he's like, dude, I can't live here. There's something wrong with this place. And so they go downstairs and they begin to talk, and then they go for a drive because he didn't want to talk about it in the house, which I don't blame him. And he said that we were driving out, and now you guys are going to freak out about this. I waited for this one. You remember when we were doing a security detail at the place out in Georgetown? Don't say the name of the place, but do you remember? You worked it.
I think so, yeah.
You and Anthony worked it. It was right there going down the highway. It was a subdivision.
Yeah. I think I know
You and Anthony worked
yeah.
it, and so did a few other guards. He was driving down that road, And I don't want to give it away because that still could be one of our clients coming up pretty soon. So he was driving down that subdivision, whatever, and they see this thing that looked like it was standing on its hind legs, and it got down and ran across the road. He said it was brown, and it looked almost like about the size of a collie, but it looked like a collie. He goes, but I could have swore it was standing on its hind legs. And he said, dude, it looked like a brown dog, And him and his girlfriend both like, whoa, what was that? And he said, dude, it had to be something that we were already dealing with. He goes, it was related to that. He was terrified. He said, so they looped around, and oddly enough, they went into that subdivision we used to work. And he goes, there was a construction site. And when he told me, I was like, when he started telling me the construction, I said, I know exactly where that's at. I think that we worked that one. Of course, there were 3 or 4 different companies that were building out there. But we were working for one of the companies that was building out there. Mm-hmm. And he says, and I looped back around, and I went back out there. And that place looks like a spot where you'll see some weird stuff. I've been out there many times. And, of course, you guys were working out there. We're talking about packs of coyotes out there. Were just nonstop.
Wild.
Yeah, when I was out there, I was listening to them. So goes back to the house. They go back, and they're sitting in the parking lot. And they're comparing notes. And he said, dude, I don't know what that growling, snarling noise could have been. So she said, that's weird because I was laying in bed one day and you had gone to work and she had a key, so she got ready to get up to leave. She didn't have to go to work till like 10 o'clock. He had to go to work early, so he was gone. And she said that they didn't have a dog. He didn't have a dog. He has one now, but he didn't have it at the time. And he said that he heard, she said that she heard growling while she's laying there in bed, just like resting her eyes. She says she wasn't asleep. She opened her eyes. She heard growling coming from the foot of the bed. And she was like, what the heck is that? And she said the room got really cold. And she thought, she's like, she's one of those people that's into the paranormal. Like, she's like, I watch all these ghost shows. And so I thought, this is a ghost. Something's going on. And she said that just then it felt like something pressed down on the bed, at the foot of the bed. And she said she looked down at the base of the bed, and she said she saw the indentions of what looked like handprints. And then she said that this thing growled, and then it was like making like a sniffing noise. And she thought, it sounds like a dog, but she could clearly see the indentions of human of handprints. So she told him about it, and she said, I didn't want to say anything. And this was when they had first gotten together, so she kind of kept it under wraps until other stuff started happening. So that night, it all came to a head, and she said, yeah, I didn't want to say anything, And then she said that they were standing in the kitchen later on that night, and they look into the backyard. They see a woman in black, and she just like staring at them. And she said that they were looking at the kitchen window, and then it just walked. And she said before our eyes, or he said before their eyes, that it went right through the wall of the backyard fence wall. So he said. So fast forward, he said about 2 years later, he's trying to get rid of the place. He's showing it because he quit living there and he started living in an apartment. Mm-hmm. And he tried to sell this place, and he was having a hard time selling it. And he said literally, there were a couple people that were interested in buying it because they liked the idea of it being haunted. He said he didn't want to give it to sell to someone. He said every time he'd tell people, look, I'm just going to be real honest with you, this thing is haunted. And they were just like, okay. They would kind of act like whatever, but then they would go on the little tour or whatever, something would happen. And then they would be like, okay, we're good. We're not going to buy this. This is not going to happen. But then he said he finally found somebody who was interested in buying it. Get this. And they said, I want to buy this house. And they liked the idea of it. And so when it was a guy, it was 2 guys, and they wanted to buy the house, okay? And one of the guys says, if you're in here, show yourself. I said it real haughty like, And he said, I'm not afraid of you. You need to come out and you need to show yourself or do something. Right? And he said that they heard a loud bang upstairs, and then they heard what sounded like somebody running down the stairs, like footsteps. And he said, dude, I got the heck out of there. I went back and I sat out in the driveway. He goes, I never saw anything out in the driveway, so I spent a lot of time out in the driveway. He goes, I got out there in the driveway. And he said that these people came out and kind of laughing. They're like, well, we'll make you an offer, blah, blah, blah. That night, the guy that did the challenging, he died of a heart attack. When they got home, he told his partner, he's like, I feel lightheaded. I'm dizzy. I'm not feeling good. I feel like something's squeezing my heart. And then he just fell over. And then when the EMS came, tried to revive him, and that was it. And they lived like in Leander or something. But anyways, what do you think of that? I mean...
You make your bed, so you lie in it? I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, what do you think that one entity was, though? I mean, like the woman, like isn't
I
that
don't
like
know. A witch? I mean, I don't know. What kind of...
what is the name of the old hag, sort of?
The old
like,
hag, yeah.
Like isn't that kind of like an omen of death?
A banshee, you mean?
I
you
mean,
think
I don't know.
I mean, it could.
Well, I mean, banshees make noise. This one didn't make any noise.
If you move over that way a little bit, Zane could move over so he can be more on camera. There you go, and then Zane can... Tony did that with like venom.
You gotta be
There you go. Now you can see each other better. Huh?
perfect.
Tony, you do look a little bigger since you've been working out with Big Ed.
I was gonna say though, did you want to hear the Astro score?
They won. I know that.
Did you? Yeah, it's a no hitter.
Yeah,
Pretty impressive.
yeah, that's pretty impressive. You know, it's weird how they're just taking turns beating each other. I hope that's not the theme of this series. But
Yeah.
anyway, back to the show. You at home watching, what do you think it was? Tell me what you think it was.
Yeah, old hag is a different experience.
Because what was the growling and snarling? Was there a dog that she had? Was it a familiar? Was it
kinda
her?
weird. It could have been.
Was it just a demon all the way around? I mean, what was it? Somebody said could be possible Lechusa, known for black magic, science, shape-shifting, and yeah, exactly.
Yes, Nancy Pelosi.
Bill Paxton with
Let's
the
not
bangers.
talk about. Let's not bring that up, please, on my show. Come on now. We cannot. I don't want to get problems. We already heard from Bo Jiden. We're not gonna.
Oh Lord.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Exactly, Bill.
Corey Cole says we would say the Lord's Prayer before a football game, and that's what I imagine when I recite it. I imagine the vibration in the locker room. I've got chill bumps right now.
But
I mean-
that got out of control. That could be possible.
A bruja.
A bruji, you know, practicing bruja, you know, it could be any. I mean, I don't know. It could be anything. I mean,
I've always wondered if topas can go past, like, just normal.
oh
you
yeah,
know,
I believe
like-
they can. Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, you know, just think of like back to the whole bear and Viking thing. Like, I believe that energy with as much people that like did that thing and like worshipped that thing or did those rites and gave it that kind of energy. Like, I think that at some point over like years and years, maybe hundreds of years even, that those things still have some kind of like power. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
I don't know,
power
some kind of
belief
energy.
does a lot.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah,
wonders.
absolutely. Could be or could be not too. No. So that's what we've got so far. Now it's already been 3 hours, but we still got a packed house here, and this is the Halloween special. So I'm gonna go above and beyond.
Usually, when it channels some kind of animal, it's demonic. Maybe.
Nellie's giving me the details of the story I told about the Argentina. Thank you, honey, but that's the other story. There was. I love you, honey, but thank you for that. It's okay. It's okay, honey. But so we got. I'm gonna do one more. And I'll finish up. I'll do the rest on, I'll call it Halloween leftovers. I'll do them next Tuesday. So I want to end with a good one here.
You gotta talk about.
So we got a werewolf and we got a Bigfoot.
Well, people wanted seeing Bigfoot. We had the Skinwalker one already, so let's do Bigfoot.
But that because the werewolf one's really good, dude. But we can do.
We'll do it the focus of next show then.
Yeah, we'll do. If you tune in next week, you'll get that werewolf story. I guarantee it, and you'll get the one about the cloak creature. We'll call it Halloween leftovers. The Bigfoot one. Here we go. Here it is. There was a Bigfoot and a woman in a car. The Bigfoot came, broke into the car, grabbed her, groped her, made her feel bad about herself. She went into a mental hospital. The end.
It was a Republican Bigfoot.
Wow.
He was terrible. He had a gun.
Snap, everybody.
He said, I'm into the Second Amendment full. Ah! It was like just went after him. Everybody's screaming werewolf now. Bigfoot, and then werewolf. Now, is this all the same person? Let's see.
No.
No, it's different people.
No, it's not.
Okay, so you guys are gonna have to tune in next on next Tuesday, and we'll tell the werewolf story. That werewolf story is crazy, and it came from a guy he's now in law enforcement. He used to be a security guard, but it's. So I was just oh, and my wife. Oh, and then there's one about a giant and a hellhound. And I'm not joking. That's a crazy story, too. It happened in, I keep wanting to say Kansas City. The guy's name was KC, not the name of the city. I kept telling my wife it happened in Kansas City. She's like, the guy's name is KC. Okay. KC is the guy's nickname or whatever, or his initials, whatever. And it happened in East St. Louis. But it's about a giant. And I'm not kidding. I will tell that story at some point. I'll try to get those next Tuesday. You guys tune in this coming Tuesday. It's not even a full week away because today's Wednesday. So this Bigfoot story, what happened was this woman went to sleep in a roadside, and it happened in Colorado. That's your neck of the woods, Alec. How about that, Alex? Remember, we had company that kept calling you Alex. Hey, Alex, how you doing over there, buddy? So. These people, and this is even more crazy considering where it happened. It was outside of Estes Park where this happened. This person had been, and I'll be real honest. If you're going to get mad at your significant other, don't lose your mind and go and sleep on the side of the road in the middle of an area where weird things happen.
It sounded nice.
Because what's so
say.
crazy was like, okay, this is a husband and wife and their two children, and they were on vacation, and they went to the Stanley. Everybody knows the Stanley Hotel is supposedly haunted. It's a shining. Everybody knows that. Okay. And when they're driving toward Estes Park, they were driving in at night, and they see on the side of the road what looked like a hairy humanoidal or inhumanoid looking creature, as Barton would say, an inhumanoid. And they see this thing on the side of the road, and she's like, honey, look at that, look, and he looks, and they see it. They just go by real fast. It was this big, huge, like the face, the way that she described the face was like this big protruding, like with a big brow ridge and everything. And she said that it was sparsely covered in hair. It wasn't fully, hairy, but it was also wasn't wearing clothes, and it was male. And she said it was like a Neanderthal, but like with hair all over its body, And she's like, we're driving by, and I was like, that had to be a Sasquatch, of a Bigfoot of some kind. Well, obviously, her husband had made her so mad that they got into a big fight. And she's like, she just got in the car and took off. And she said this isn't unusual that her and her husband would get these bad fights, and they try not to fight around the kids. So they're divorced now. So, but at the time, and so they went outside to argue, and she burned off in the car. And she says, dude, I get down the road, and she's like, and I'm just so mad. I pull off to the side of the road, and I'm crying, and I'm really upset. And she says, I just laid my head back, and it was like I just got real sleepy, and I just knocked out. I was asleep. She's like, she wakes up to something banging on the window. She said immediately when she opened her eyes, she said it was not a cop. She knew it wasn't a cop because cops don't go. They go, and then they back up, probably holding their firearm or whatever. Typically, if it's a female.
Right.
If it's one of us, it's going to be like, get out the car, and they shoot you. Bang, bang, get out the car, and you still can't get out because they're shooting you. And you're like, you've done shot me twice. I can't move. I'm going to shoot you again, fool.
Has any
I'm
decent
like, please stop, officer. There's nothing wrong, and the cops just keep shooting me.
Well, that's if you get a decent one at least. I mean,
Yeah. The other one's just put you in a chokehold there, buddy. Choke you out.
Knee on the neck there, guy.
I want a liter of cola, and you get out of the car. Just do it. So anyway, all joking aside, she's in the car and she hears this banging, and she opens her eyes. She's looking around, and she don't see anything. And then she says this thing just popped up in her driver's side window and is doing this, palming the window. And she's like, "Holy crap!" And she looks, and it is the creature that she saw. She's like, "It's identical to the one we saw earlier." And she said, it's not like another one. It was that one. You know, she said it was, and it had this, the way she saw like, you know, this big, I don't have that kind of look to me, but I mean like a big protruding, like,
Yeah.
to where the eyes, you could barely see the eyes open. It was just like it looked like a very,
Like a 1930s.
the way she described it was like a
Italian gangster.
person that was like, and this isn't being cute or funny, but someone who had mental
Right.
illness that wasn't smart.
Like
Well, don't say anything.
Okay,
I don't want to, offend people, but it looked like not like a mentally challenged person. Let's put it that. I'm trying to say the right words and be, let's be politically correct or whatever, because I don't want to make people mad. But she said that it was standing there looking at her in a window, and she's looking at it, and then it just goes boom, and when it hits the window, like that point, it grunted, and the whole window just cracked, and then it just did it again, and all the glass and everything came flying. She said a piece of it got in her mouth, cut her face. And then at that point, it just sticks its hand in and grabs her, one hand on her the shirt, the chest, whatever, and then the other one by her head, and begins to try to pull her out of the car. And she says she's screaming for her life, and she is freaking out, dude. And she said at that point, she goes, I was so terrified and sure that I was going to die. She's like, I don't care if Ted Bundy would have jumped out of the woods, I would have went with him. And I said, ma'am, you're making a big mistake there, because Ted Bundy would have definitely killed you. This thing it might have just wanted to fool around or something. I didn't say that, and ma'am, I told her beforehand that I was actually going to make a joke, okay? There's the joke. Sorry, I'm just messing around. Trying to lighten the mood, because
That's a good point.
pretty
The other
rough story.
The other Bigfoots probably dared him to go up and touch the car. They were hiding in the bushes nearby.
Well, I think he was trying to abduct her.
It could be that
I'm
too.
pretty sure, because it was pulling her out of the car. Let me tell a story, all right? That's just right there, buddy. So it's pulling her out of the car, face palming her. I've heard this before near the Dalles. Same thing happened to a guy there. And then was grabbing her shirt and tearing her clothing, and the glass was cutting her. And, it was a traumatic experience. She said, luckily, people weren't just there was 2 cars that drove by. And she said one of them did a U-turn and actually came back. And she's like, thank God. She said, and then it was on the other side of the road, and it shined a spotlight on it. And the creature turned and kind of looked, and it distracted it enough, and it kind of put its arm up like that. And she said she fell back down into the car, and she started it, and the thing turned around and just looked kind of confused. And then she took off, going back down the highway, and the thing kind of started to run. She said that persons, she said there were a couple guys and a couple girls, and they were in that car, about 4 people. And they turned, and they started following it. And she said this happened like in 2002. So, I mean, we had cell phones back then. I don't know how good the cameras were or whatever.
horrible.
Yeah, but anyway, she said that she's like, I don't know what happened to them. She's like, the creature chased alongside my car and was like, when I was first trying to get away, she said it kept sticking its hand in the window. And at one point it got to her mouth, like it put its nasty finger in her mouth. She said it tasted just like terrible, like dirt and whatever, and some other things I'm not going to mention. But she said then it just scratched her face, and then its hand went boom, and then it just let go. And she said that she was staring at it through the rearview mirror, and she said it just like moved really quick, like it like went one side and then the other real quick, and it was off the road, and those people would have drove right through it. But she said it was just super fast, like it moved really quick. And so she turned around, she drove, and then her husband got her, and they went to the hospital, took her to the hospital, and they told her she was okay, and they chalked it up as an animal attack.
Yes, an
And
animal.
she was saying that it was like, and somebody said probably tasted like sulfur. Actually, yeah, that could be one of the descriptions of it. And so she said that whenever this thing had its hand on the, she said that what was crazy about it was touching the broken glass, and it was grabbing things, but it wasn't cutting. There was no blood. There was no blood coming from the creature. The creature wasn't bleeding. She said, it looked like a she described it as a subhuman. I call it a humanly challenged person. Okay, because I don't want to be politically incorrect and hurt people's feelings. All right, so it was humanly challenged. So anyway, it was just a terrifying thing. She went, and then her husband was just like he was convinced that it was a crazy man who had come out of the woods and was trying to have his way with her, and she's like, no, it was that thing we saw on the side of the road, and he's like, well, how would it know to go? And she said, because I stupidly went and parked not too far from where we saw it. And then I asked her, I said, did you have any clue? She's like, I was so mad and in my anger that I didn't even think about it. And I just parked there, And she's like, all I could think about was how angry I was at my husband until this thing attacked me. And then all I could think about was how I wish he was right there. And I said, see, that's what you get. Next time he goes out and starts drinking and, comes home beating on you, what would you rather have?
Yeah.
That or the big hand?
Gotta look at the bigger
the
things.
Bigfoot hand.
Gotta look at the bigger things in life.
Because Bigfoot goes, he drinks some king cobra, and he goes and just smacks. He goes crazy. Her husband, not the Bigfoot. I'm kidding.
Right.
She had a lot of bad things to say about him. He was a drunk, and he did all kinds of stuff. According to her, he's probably at home going, "What? I'm not drinking. I don't do that." But according to her, he was an abusive and a mean guy.
Right.
And then King Cobra, for those that don't know, I remember I think it was Billy Williams, wasn't it? That used to come on there, and Billy D. Williams, wasn't it? Was it the guy that played Lando Calrissian? What's his name? You got to look him up. He come out and be like, King Cobra, I'm a sexy man and I drink this, so you drink it too. And if your friend's frozen in carbonite, well, toast to him and drink some King Cobra.
Oh, I did see that.
After about an hour, you're going to be sick and stuff's going to be coming out of both ends, and then you'll probably pass out in a ditch and be killed. But
You look cool.
drink King Cobra.
You look cool.
It's funny whenever they advertise these horrible beers too. They're like Coors, the banquet beer. Like I don't remember going to any banquets and ever going, "Hey, I'd take a Coors. Well, I'm glad I'm here for this." And Miller Lite, the headache beer. Don't get me started on that.
Kidding me? I only go to
disgusting.
banquets to find
At least
Coors.
you go to the banquets to find the Coors. Alec, you're from Colorado where they drink that mountain piss. What banquets have you been to where they've served Coors, my friend?
I've never been to a banquet.
Exactly. Well, then you can't answer the question. But somebody said Colt 45. Either way, it was malt liquor. All right?
Malt liquor.
And I just remember Billy Williams telling people to drink it. And then he went off and he had Cloud City and Chewbacca choked him and a bunch of other stuff happened. But that night, it looked like Chewbacca was after this woman. So that's the Halloween show, folks. Thank you for tuning in. I had a great time, and we did 3 hours, 15 minutes. Pabst Blue Ribbon.
I think Dark Waters is
Steel
in there.
Reserve.
Dark Waters in the audience. Yeah,
I saw him. He
Dark,
was in the
what's going
chat.
on, brother? So, Dark probably remembers them commercials with that. I don't know if you remember who it was that did the commercial. I was the guy who played Lando Calrissian, I thought. And then there was Carl Weathers did one. I think it was another one. But it was like, I don't know. When I was a kid, they were. I was like, oh, those guys are cool, man, and they're drinking some nasty beer, and I thought this is. So then I get older and I try it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Lando, you lied. This is terrible.
Literal poison.
This is terrible beer. What are you doing? I was like, no wonder he's living up in the Cloud City or whatever up there. He's trying to get away from that. So anyways, folks, thank you. And so we got to pick some people to be winners. So what we're going to do, here's what we're going to do. We're going to post this onto the Facebook group like we always do. and I'm going to choose 3 people. 3 people to be. Well, we are as a team. We're gonna choose. I'm going to choose one, and somebody else will choose the other 2. But you go to that link when we drop this show. It's going to go onto the Paranormal Roundtable group. It's on Facebook. If you're not a member, go join. It's free to join. You can be a part. There's 8,000. Here's the thing. There's 8,300 people in there, but it's been saying that for 2 months, and we've approved about 400 people. So I don't know how Facebook math. Facebook does their own type of math. They're like, "Wow, we see your political views don't match ours, so we're going to do it." Our algorithms say that you're probably somebody we don't like, even whether you are or not. So, but anyways, the point is, go on to Facebook group. Paranormal Roundtable group, and we will drop the link to this show, like we do all the shows, and we're going to choose 3 people, and you're all going to get autographed books, and you're all going to win some swag, because it's the Halloween show, even though it's a couple days late. Thank you for putting up with me from yesterday, and work almost killing me, which it keeps. Please pray for me, because I'm just so tired of work. I'm probably by definition a workaholic. I don't know. What do y'all think? I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Or neurotic and driven. You know, either one.
Well, you have to be neurotic to be a workaholic. You can't. Yeah. I inherited that from my parents. They were workaholics, and I work too much probably, but I have to. I have a lot of people to take care of and depend on me. My workers, depend on me, and I can't just relax. I got to. I can't rest on my laurels, and the show takes up all of my free time. People ask me, they're like, "Did you see that show?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't. I don't have time to." I'll start to watch a show with Nellie, and bless her heart, I fall asleep every time. And she's like, "You can't even watch a show." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. And I got books to read too." So anyway, folks, thank you for tuning in. Be sure and like and subscribe. I'm pretty sure we would have had a bigger audience if we would have done it yesterday, like we were planning on doing it, but it didn't happen. The chat that we were planning on doing a Zoom panel with a couple people, they couldn't make it. And so then I just decided, you know what? Instead of messing with all that, let's just do what I do and retell people's stories. And I hope you that submitted these stories, you're okay with me doing the humor and the comedy. I got to break it up because sometimes it gets a little dark and it gets a little, so that's what I did. And I was just trying to have fun, and I wasn't trying to make fun of your stories or at all or belittle you or make you think that I was not being serious when you tell me your story. I don't want people to get shy and think, "Oh, don't tell a story, he'll make fun of you," because I wasn't making fun of anybody. I believe every one of these stories is true from the people that told me that.
Well, you're not.
Can I go out and prove it? No, I can't, but I do believe. So, yeah, and so tune in next Tuesday, and we'll see if we can get into that one with the giant and the hellhound. That's a really crazy story that me and Nellie got. And then we got the werewolf inside of a car. I want to tell that one. That one's going to be next Tuesday. And then we got a cloaked creature, which is a really weird. That one's a weird one, and there's a twist to it too. It's really weird. Happened to a couple kids that are now adults. Thank goodness they're alive to be adults, because it could have really gotten bad. And my Astros won, and praise Jesus, praise God. Will never be shy to people calling me a bigot because I'm a Christian. I'm like, I don't go around imposing my views on anybody just because I say praise God. What's wrong with that? Why do people got to get so angry when I say that, dude? They're like, it hurts my ears. Yeah, that's on you, bro. That's you and your demons. You got to work that out with you and your demons on you. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. From everybody here at PRT, y'all want to say goodnight? Any closing thoughts?
Don't sleep on the side of the road. Don't go into the basement.
That's a good one.
Don't go into the attic, and you should be all right.
Just don't go anywhere.
Just
don't go anywhere scary.
Sit in it.
Stay
If
in
it's
one
scary,
corner of your
stay
house.
away.
Never turn the lights off.
All the lights on.
Yeah.
Pay your electric bill.
But other than that, have a good night. Stay safe and stay blessed.
Yeah.
Later.
And thank you for joining me, Zane, my nephew. Technically my nephew, but you're my adopted son.
Yes.
So Zane is my son, and he's my brother's son, but I adopted him. And Tony, my godson, who just basically imposed his will on us and moved in.
Yeah.
He basically just came and never left.
I kind of so they found me in the closet one day.
What are the people called? They hide in the closet. What is a name for 'em?
Stowaway.
No, not stowaway. What are those people called? They go in the closet. Froggers, or is it frogging? Frogging is what it's called, right? They call it
I have
frogging.
no idea.
What is frog?
It's called frogging. Go look it up. It's where people. Okay, these rich people. Something we don't understand because I'm not rich.
No, not at
These
all.
rich people that live in these big houses. They'll move these big houses, and I read an article about it. And I was actually going to read a couple weird articles that I had read. But these people will. It was up in New England where these two people said they lived in their house for 2 months.
I believe it.
And when the people would go to work, they'd go out and take it. And they kept finding like peanut butter eaten and, toast and stuff. And I said, what? Zane's living there. That's
what I
Zane.
was gonna
Zane's eating the chicken nuggets and the peanut butter.
I probably helped them move into their house because
Folks,
I was a mover.
My son here, my boy, he loved his peanut butter
Yeah.
and
still
his chicken
It's
tenders.
a very important part of my diet. Not the
Yeah.
tendies so much. Tendies on the back.
When we first
burner.
got you, though,
Peanut
you were
butter.
not a.
You wouldn't eat anything else, right?
Yeah.
Not really.
Y'all,
I had a
y'all-
weird relationship.
Tony, you
My
need
mom
to get
never-
a haircut. Look at that,
Yeah,
dude.
it's getting pretty bad. My
You
mom
can't be
never
going to work like that.
let me not eat stuff.
Hey, pan over to their hair. Look at, well, not you, Zane, but the other one.
Yeah.
How long is your hair, boy?
Long enough.
Let's see. Alex.
On your head, ball.
Yeah, your hair looks good still. What about you, Zane? What do you got going on?
I have alopecia. I have thinning going on.
Let me
That's
see.
not that bad,
You don't got no album. Let me see. Oh, that's stress, bro.
I know.
That's straight up stress,
lot of
brother. Well, at least you don't have to get a haircut though. This dude, look at
Very true.
this. He looks like
It
look
does
like
grow
Richard
over a
Ramirez over here. Like he looks like you look like you're gonna yeah, man. Death always came with the territory, man. Like you're gonna lift up your palm and have like a pentagram on it or something.
There you go.
Look at
I'm
look
ready
at
for
this
it.
guy. Look at Richard Ramirez over here. The Night Stalker, folks. Well, your hair looks fine, Zane. What about Alec? Alec,
It'll grow out.
what your
I
hair?
think his hair is about as long as mine.
Here, go on camera. Let's see your hair real quick, Alec. Let's see it. No, don't do that. Alec, now you're trying to turn into a serial killer. You're trying to be like you look like the guy when you do that with your hair down. You look like the guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And my brother made good head cheese. That like that dude. Say goodbye on camera, Alec. See if people can see you. So now you know what the man behind the video does. Anthony, you want to say goodbye? Let's see. All right, guys. You want to say goodbye to everybody?
We'll see y'all later, everybody. Thank you for bearing with us and tuning in and all that. Thank you for bearing with us and tuning in, and thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Yada, 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 all that jazz, blah, blah, blah. Good night.
Jeez.
Yeah, see,
Short, sweet, and to the point.
Wow. You're,
Yeah,
you're like
people-
an arrogant comedian with no jokes.
people.
He comes out, hey, guys, go to hell, walks off the stage.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't be a chatterbox like some people. Just talk ad nauseum, talk to be talking, talk. Okay, sorry.
This is open mic night for night, everybody.
Open up, Mike. No, let me tell you something. If you're referring to me being the chatterbox, that's my job, is to come out here and talk
But
and
literally-
entertain people. That's literally what I
That's
do.
literally what we do. What are you talking
What you
about?
talking about, Holmes? We better get back over here. You want to throw some chingazos? That's what you talking crap.
Anyway,
Talking
I
crazy.
think that's it for tonight.
Yeah, that's it, guys. I'll see you.
See you next Tuesday.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
This has been another episode of Halloween in the books. PRT. We have fun here. It's time for us to go get some vittles. You don't even use that term anymore? Vittles?
I heard of diddles.
People like at home, the millennials are like, what is that? Is it vegan? Yes, it's vegan. It's non-vegan. It's everything. It's vittles. Okay? Good. All right, I'll see you. We'll see you.